Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with Andrew Velez, Joe Dehls, and this is now episode 169. In this episode, we are going to talk about the Eagles-Saints trade, DK Metcalf rumors, Patriots trading for DeVante Parker, Rams offseason, best remaining free agents, and more. A quick Patreon shout out to Pimp Chimpin, Jake the Snake, Corrupt, G Boog, Kobe, Dylan, Afosa, Mason, Rico the One, Gentile Drew, Cade MVP, Mark, SP Vorzi Shot, Jordan Watt, Evan, Dylan, Joel is the GOAT, Mayo, Andre, Matthew, Peter, Daniel, Ben, William, Ruthless Rootster, Sensei Stevie, Joel B, SA Crimes, Kevin S, Eagle Dollar, Tizzy, Corey, Get Funkoed, Dylan, Playboy Orlando, Big Chuck, Michael, Greg, Cole, Liam, T. Grove, Tua Sucks on Ka, Ryan, Epic Lankiness, Aaron is Black Ace, Anthony, BJ, PJs, Langston, Jazzy Juice, Johannes, Ruben, Dave McLaurin, Muffins, John Pintavelli, Sean Triplett, Burner Hoops, Court Cousins, P. Dot, George, Hikari, Mateen, and Jay Aqua.
Good old Jay Aqua, man.
We also cannot forget about the YouTube members, Danko and Monster Matthew Jimenez.
And next show, they will be called out first.
Yes. I keep forgetting.
It's all right, man.
You know, Monster beat me in Madden.
He told me.
And I'm upset about it.
Did he smoke you?
You don't know how badly I was raging the entire game.
What team was he?
The Titans.
Titans,
yeah.
And you were the Bills, right?
I was the Bills.
That's a rough loss.
It's because the first play of the game, I had Stephon Diggs on a streak, and he had separation. I threw with Allen, and for some reason, he underthrew it. I'm telling you, the entire game, I was raging. I'm like, oh my God. I left the game. I left the game in such a bad and shitty mood.
You got
didn't
smoked?
want to play Madden. No, I didn't get smoked. I lost by 3 points.
Oh, okay.
I lost by 3 points, and I played my absolute worst game, and Madden was cheesing me the entire game.
How many interceptions did you throw?
I think 1 or 2.
Madden will do that to you.
Losing to Monster, man. He's going to hold that over you.
One of the interceptions was just like a Josh. This was it. I was scrambling outside the pocket. I had a receiver wide open. I threw it, and it was inaccurate, and then the safety picked it off.
In franchise, your quarterbacks, it's all on momentum. They will throw an interception, and the throw will be horrible. Nothing you can do about it.
What I hate about this trait, the like escape artist, is that it takes away the quarterback stamina so much. Like whenever I would escape with Josh Allen, after like the 6th play of me trying to scramble,
You do it 6 times.
Yeah, for sure.
I know, but like this, I don't do it consecutively. But let's say nobody's open. I'm like, okay, I need to get out. It's like the 4th quarter. Once I get outside the pocket, because you can't control when you can use escape artist or not. It just happens. Once I'm outside the pocket, like outside the numbers and trying to start my break to go to the first down, the defensive lineman catches up to Allen, and I have no stamina left. And Josh Allen also fumbled in that game by getting hit by Caleb Farley.
I mean, we've spoken about it how many times. Quarterbacks can't hold on to the ball in Madden for whatever reason.
Doesn't matter who it is.
That game got me irritated.
And now you're going to have to hold an L from Monster.
I'm 4-2 now. I face Surge. I'm on a bye week now. I face Surge off that bye week.
You definitely need to win that
I am
one.
going to
Kryptonite?
take out all of my rage on
Is
Surge.
Surge your kryptonite, or
No, I smoked him
Okay.
first game.
do you smoke him consistently? Or
As recently when I do. I'm going to smoke him off this bye
Who's the
week.
best player in the league?
Probably me.
Okay.
It is me.
I'm excited to join.
Yeah, I can't wait to smoke you too.
That's not happening.
You're gonna join as the Eagles?
I saw the 49ers are available now, too.
Oh, okay.
Might
Tell you
take
what,
the Niners.
he's pretty good at Madden.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at Madden.
Are you? Just
Yeah.
lost to Monster. Is Monster good at Madden?
I smoked Monster before. I know what I'm capable of. It's just Monster caught me in just a
Didn't
weird
you lose in the
day.
first round of the last franchise?
No, divisional. I won a playoff game, then I lost in divisional.
Okay, all right. That's respectable.
Yeah, but with the Jets.
Yeah,
Sure.
facts.
With Zach Wilson. I got him up to like an 81 overall.
Damn.
In the first year.
And then they simmed it 10 years?
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
It's always something.
You know, you should I want to actually face Joel in Madden. Like not even on some franchise thing, but like just like face you.
We could do that.
Just to see like how good you are.
I like
wanna
that.
measure the skills.
You guys might never see me play Madden if all you guys are going to do is play on PS4. It's unfortunate.
You should just get a PS4.
No.
Yeah, get a PS4, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
PS4 is better than Xbox, I think. PlayStation in general.
I just don't like PlayStation's controller.
Xbox,
PS5 is better.
Xbox 360 greater than the PS3. PS4 was better than the Xbox One. And now these new ones. The PS5 is cooler. The concept is cooler. It's basically the same thing for the Series X. I'm going to be real with you. But the graphics are a little bit cleaner.
I feel like we're moving away from consoles as a whole.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, because everyone's going PC?
Mm-hmm. I think we're moving away from that as a whole. It's going to be more of a luxury than
a console, you're saying?
It's going to be more streaming, too, I think, all of these games.
It's going to be like having a console is going to be more of a luxury. Like, oh, you have it more so than that's what I use to game.
I don't know if PlayStation has this, but Xbox in the last couple months has cloud gaming now. So you could play a game without downloading it straight from the Xbox store.
Yeah, because
crazy.
Xbox, Windows, PC, basically Xbox has already transitioned to be more PC oriented.
But if you have that on Xbox already, you don't really have a need to go to PC if you could just stream games directly from your console.
Facts.
Yeah, that is a great idea.
Yeah, it's kind of like glitchy and laggy sometimes if you don't have great internet. But overall, I mean, for it just launching, it's pretty good.
PlayStation has the, I guess, the tool that you can, if you're playing a game and this guy wants to play, you can just toss it over to his console and he can play.
Really?
Apparently.
That's nuts.
That's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. So, like, if we're playing Madden?
No, let's say we're playing, like, Red Dead Redemption, and, like, you can't beat this level. Your boy can do that for you.
You could just hop right in?
Apparently. That's what I'm told.
You can do that. You can do that.
On PS5?
Yeah. You have to have a pretty stable connection, though, in order for it to work.
Makes sense.
That idea is crazy.
It is.
What's the word I'm looking for? It's not tool.
Feature?
Accessibility. Feature. Thank you.
There we go.
Before we go on to the first topic, I want to know your thoughts on the Lakers now being eliminated from
I'm glad we're getting this out the way on the football episode because I know Rev's going to bring it up this weekend. I'll tell you what, I'm not the happiest, truthfully. LeBron missing the last two games also, and it's better times have been ahead of me in terms of the Lakers. We're looking forward to next season. I mean, what else am I to say?
What is next season though? You running
Are
back
you
with
going
the
to be
same
on the
squad?
Lakers next season?
I don't know. That is very TBD. I think LeBron's staying. He has a year left in his contract.
I think LeBron also
he should be staying in terms of his contract. However,
you never know with that guy.
Who knows?
He
But
wants to play with Steph now. What a disgrace.
I'm pretty sad of how the season turned out. Clearly, it's not how I imagined it would be. A lot of injuries played a factor into this season.
You have Anthony Davis, your second starter.
No, for sure. And LeBron James only playing, I think he played under 55 games this season. If only we were healthy, who would have known? Maybe we could have reached 65 games. Who knows? But hey, can't change the past.
You would have been as good as the Suns.
Dude, they actually they're going to win 65 games.
That's what I'm saying. You would have been as good as the Suns.
Chose the wrong team, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Had the right idea, wrong team.
The Lakers' Big Three has played more than the Clippers' duo, Big Two.
I believe
this
that.
year.
I mean, Kawhi hasn't played all season.
Yeah, and they're in the plan. They're doing
good for them.
Themselves.
They have a great cast.
I'm telling you, I've been telling you guys for the longest, at least on the basketball episodes, that the Lakers are a dysfunctional franchise.
They've been terrible over these last.
The Clippers
the
Clippers are a better organization than the Lakers in recent history.
Good for them.
Yeah. They don't
Where's their
chip, though.
championship?
Yeah, I was gonna say they've been more competitive.
One Western Conference Finals appearance. One.
They've been more consistently competitive.
And they made that Western Conference Finals without their best player.
Yeah.
So that's credit to them.
Lakers got so lucky with the bubble championship.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, you did get lucky.
Come on. Huh?
You did get lucky.
How?
You got 4 months off for LeBron and AD.
Every single team got 4 months off, so I don't want to hear it.
I know, but the two best players who were aging and injury prone got
Kawhi
4
Leonard
months off.
Blew a 3-1 lead, and that's the king of sitting out games. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
That doesn't happen if there's home and road games, though.
No, whatever. It
But I
doesn't
mean,
matter.
they win the bubble, and then every other year they're terrible,
made the playoffs,
more or
and
less.
Anthony Davis, unfortunately, just
gets hurt.
nicked and bruised
And this
up.
year, Anthony Davis gets hurt.
I think that shows more like if they were great in the bubble and every year after that has been a disappointment, I think you can look at the bubble like that was a fluke year.
Not necessarily.
Listen, you take the chip, but it probably was a fluke year.
Not necessarily. Last season we were hurt. I mean, what are you going to do? We were healthy at that point.
Because you have two guys that are aging and injury prone, so taking 4 months off is going to help.
How about 2020, right? In the regular season when COVID didn't exist, and we were the best team in the Western Conference, right?
Phenomenal.
No one talks about that.
Yeah.
They don't talk about that. They only talk about the bubble.
Because then you had 3-4 months off.
But they don't talk about how before, COVID shut down the NBA, that back-to-back games, LeBron against the Bucs, LeBron against
because everyone got hurt.
the Clippers,
or these next 2
was
seasons,
putting his
everyone
stamp
got hurt.
on the MVP. They don't talk about that.
Next 2 seasons, your 2 guys got hurt.
It's unfortunate.
That's why.
But even when they were both healthy, and LeBron was coming back off 2 games, AD was balling. We had a 2-1 lead. It was all predicated on Anthony Davis's health, unfortunately.
Which is not something I want to rely on.
I mean, we're talking about when he's healthy.
When he's healthy,
a top
he's amazing.
player
But
in the NBA.
He's been healthy the bubble year and what else?
Not much.
Exactly.
I'm not saying you're wrong, man.
The Lakers suck. It's as simple
I wasn't
as
going to go that far.
That's okay.
Listen, I would take the chip.
Listen, we have one championship, and the Knicks haven't won since '73, right? I mean, I feel like I'd rather be in my position.
For sure.
You don't have a set team.
Say that's also true.
It's okay. LeBron, whatever you want to say, right? And in the
Well, it's
19 years.
It's easy to piggyback the best player to ever play the game.
I'm glad you feel that way. I got lucky. Right? Not everyone chose the best player ever.
Oh, that's why I'm choosing. That's why I'm choosing Scotty Barnes now.
Good for you. You chose James Harden, and hey, you thought that was going to go one way. Unfortunately, derailed and went the other way. It just happens.
I'm choosing Luka next.
Some people choose right. Some people choose wrong.
Next. Oh my god.
I chose right. Right, and that's supposed to be on me. Right?
You get criticized.
You get criticized for being smart.
God forbid.
What can you do? Let's go on to football.
Not a lot of things happened in football this week, but some notable things did indeed happen.
For sure.
The Eagles and the Saints made a trade on draft day that's going to happen on draft day. Well, it already happened, but it's exchanging draft day picks. The Eagles are now getting the number 18th overall pick, the 101 pick in the draft, pick 237, and a 2023 first and 2024 second. The Saints are getting the 16th overall pick, the 19th overall pick, and pick 194. There's been a lot of talk on social media about how the Eagles fleeced the Saints, and now the big question is, what are the Saints planning to do with these draft picks? Is it to move up in the draft and draft the quarterback, since they don't have a quote-unquote franchise guy, even though I think Jameis is more than capable of doing that? Or are they going to try to bolster up this roster a bit? Now, I'm going to start with you, Joe. Where do you think the Saints are leaning in terms of directions and where they want to go with these draft picks?
I'd be surprised if they use 16 and 18 to trade up. I think if they really wanted to, they probably didn't have to make this deal right now. They could have waited until draft day to see one of these guys could fall past 10, if they like Malik Willis, Pickett, whoever it might be. If they were trading for a quarterback, I think they would have waited. But this makes sense for both teams. I think for the Saints, who desperately need tackle now because Armstead is gone and have needed wide receiver for years now, this class, arguably the two most deepest positions, are tackle and wide receiver, up there with edge too. So at 16 and 18, they have a chance to fill both of those needs with players that are going to come in day one and be able to contribute. Whether that's going to be, Neal and Icky aren't going to be there, but that next tier, maybe Charles Cross or Penning, possibly someone that could come in and play left tackle right away. And then we've talked about the receivers at length. Whoever they decide to go with, they're going to be able to come in and automatically be their number 2 wide receiver, the second best receiver on the team, assuming Michael Thomas could come in and be the old Michael Thomas. Now you have a 1-2 punch that is going to be up there with one of the betters in the league, assuming Michael Thomas could come back and be his old self. And then for the Eagles, I think it makes sense too. You still have 2 first-rounders, a second, and 2/3 this season. So they still have draft capital to move around the board if they want to move up or down, because they don't have at least as many pressing needs in the Saints in terms of they're desperate for a tackle, desperate for receiver. And though I do think they need to upgrade receiver position opposite of DeVante Smith, now they have 2 firsts in 2023, an extra second in 2024. And it's kind of a win-win for them, because if Jalen Hurts goes out and balls this season, they have their franchise guy, and now they have 2 firsts in 2023. If he struggles this season, even with these 2 first-round picks, now they have even more draft ammo, including an extra second in 2024, to move up or down the board next season, where we're expecting to have a better quarterback class. So I think it makes sense for both teams. For the Saints, I'm looking at it and thinking they see this draft class being really strong at wide receiver and tackle, and that's why they made the move.
Interestingly enough, I would not be shocked if they went quarterback. A lot of chatter has been going around that quarterbacks are going to be flying in the first round. Whether I agree with that or not, that just seems to be a rumor. I would not be surprised if they went quarterback. I know they just extended Jameis, but maybe they don't see Jameis as their franchise guy. He's just coming off a torn ACL. These quarterbacks, there's talk that Desmond Ridder might be really a high-touted prospect going into draft night. I definitely expect them to go wide receiver. And moving ahead of the Eagles, where I feel like the Eagles are going to be aiming for wide receiver also. Do the Eagles have 15? I'm blanking off the top of my head, or is that the chart?
They have 2 firsts still.
I thought they still have 2 firsts. Yeah. But I'm asking, do they have 15 off the top of my head?
They have 15 and 18.
Okay. So even still, the Eagles could end up snatching their wide receiver that the Saints are looking at. However, I still believe that they need a wide receiver. For the longest, even for as long as they've had Michael Thomas, they've lacked that number 2 wide receiver. And by the way that it's looking like Michael Thomas is going to play this season, and that should leave Saints fans optimistic. However, I still look at this trade, and I know we're talking about what the Saints are going to do, but there's a strong possibility that the Saints are bad next season, and the Eagles absolutely come up. Now, the Eagles have been one of the more low-key, dominant front office in the football league. Next season, if the Saints are not good, which is a strong possibility, given the fact that they won games last season, but they were mediocre for a majority of the part. And now that Sean Payton's there, they don't have a competent, or let me not say that. They don't have a proven, thank you very much. They don't have a proven head coach. There's a strong possibility that they're a bottom 5 team in the NFL. And now the Eagles are in position to have a top 5 pick. I don't think that that'll happen, but that's a strong possibility. For this draft, though, and going back to that topic, I do think that there's a strong chance that they go quarterback. You want to plan for the future, and I'm not sure that I can trust on Jameis to be my plan for the future. And wide receiver, it is the most glaring hole for me. Defensively, I feel like they're fine. You mentioned left tackle. This is a pretty strong tackle class, but right now, the most important things in the NFL, yes, offensive line, but securing your franchise quarterback and adding weapons. You have been on the right side of history in the sense of you need weapons in today's NFL, and I could not agree more. You can't just have MT. You need more, especially with a guy like Jameis, who's shown last season that he can be solid with a group of mediocre guys, but let's not put him in that situation. Get him these wide receivers to give him some confidence going into the season.
I think the Saints are closer to being a playoff team than a bottom 5 team. I think this trade puts them in great position to fill out needs. You mentioned left tackle. I think Evan Neal, Icky, definitely not making it that far in the teens. Charles Cross, I think he's a top 10 pick. I don't think he's going to make it to the teens. I think they will draft most likely Trevor Penning, who, seeing some tape of him, I'm not the hugest fan of, but that's a guy who does have potential. He has a lot of size. And at receiver, there's a lot of options.
A lot.
Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson won't be there. We probably are sure of that unless something crazy.
Apparently, there's talks that he might be dropping on boards as well, which is nuts.
But let's just say for the sake,
that time of the year,
it is.
Let's just say for the sake of this segment, the Saints draft Trevor Penning and Chris Olave. You have a Saints roster who they just signed Andy Dalton as a backup. So Jameis Winston, if he's missing 2-3 games, you have Andy Dalton there who can hold down the fort for a little bit. It's Jameis, Kamara, Thomas, Olave, Traquan Smith, or Marquez Callaway. I think in the second round, they can go for a tight end, maybe a Trey McBride. I like Ulrich a lot from UCLA. He's a very explosive tight end.
Okay.
Jeremy Ruckert from Ohio State. You can get a tight end in the second or in the later rounds if you're the Saints. And then your offensive line, after losing Teron Armstead, you got Trevor Penning, Andres Pete, Cesar Ruiz, Eric McCoy, and Ryan Ramczyk. So your offensive line won't be horrible. If Trevor Penning at least is like solid year one, you have a good offensive line. You have good weapons. I think Jameis, you guys know I'm high on Jameis. 14 touchdowns, 3 picks last season. He can have a breakout season this upcoming year, I believe so. I'm a big believer.
Michael Thomas is going to come in. He's going to make him look really good.
And then defense. The defense is still elite. I mean, Marcus May, you signed him to replace Marcus Williams. If Marcus May stays healthy, the drop-off between Williams and May is not far off.
Coming off a torn Achilles, though.
You're right.
Marcus Williams is still one of the better safeties in the league.
You're right. At corner, Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo. I think they also have a Roby is still there. So you have a good secondary. You have good linebackers. You have a good defensive line. This team is really good. It's just they have that hole at receiver. And the quarterback, people still have question marks over because Jameis isn't the most glamorous name. But just back to the point about bottom 5, Falcons, Panthers are 2 teams I think will be worse. Yeah.
I think they'll be second in that division.
You look at the AFC South. I think the Texans are worse. I think the Lions are worse. I think the Bears are worse.
Lions, we could shock people.
I mean, they have a chance.
They could shock people.
The Saints won 9 games last year.
I think
for sure.
The Seahawks.
Sean Payton had a lot to do with that.
I think the Seahawks are worse. And you say Sean Payton, and that's for sure. But let's not forget Dennis Allen was the defensive coordinator for a team that shut out Tom Brady for one of the better defenses. That defense is still intact. The defense is still going to be a top 5, top 10 defense in the league. I don't know who the OC is. It's blanking on the top of my head.
Are you guys going to trust me to look something up?
But I do trust the weapons and at least the core that they
Pete
have.
Carmichael.
Pete Carmichael.
Confirmed.
I'm not familiar with his history. He might have been Sean Payne's assistant for years. If I'm
Saints
not
to
wrong.
retain Pete Carmichael as offensive coordinator.
So I think that's a good move for them. Familiarity within the system.
Both their guys.
Yeah. So I like that a lot for the Saints. I know Sean Payne is a big name and he's a great head coach, no doubt about it. But the staff is still there for the most part, and I think they can be successful. Now on to the Eagles. I think this trade is not the biggest vote of confidence of Jalen Hurts. I think they are already looking at 2023 and saying, if Jalen Hurts doesn't have the year we expect him to have and doesn't drastically improve his throwing, then we can be looking at a Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud. We can be looking at one of these top quarterbacks in a draft, and we have the capital to not only move up, but maybe your prediction of the Saints being a bottom 5 team comes true.
For sure.
And now they have that top pick. Now you're in a position to draft a top quarterback and replace Jalen Hurts. But I also think they weren't going to use all 3 first-round picks. I don't think the Eagles have 3 major holes on their roster to begin with that they need to spend a first-round pick. We've talked about it before that there's more depth in this draft. I have the Eagles with picks 15 and 18. I think 15 is an edge rusher or corner. So George Karlaftis, David Ojabo, who might slip in the draft because of his injury, Jermaine Johnson, Trent McDuffie, Derek Stingley. I think Dax Hill would be an excellent fit. Maybe they draft a receiver with that pick as well. It's very possible they can.
I think
go
they
on
need
Olave,
a receiver.
They've been trying
a Lendon,
for years.
a
They got
Watson. There's a lot of receivers out there to get. So I think this improves the Eagles not only for this upcoming season, but it's also a look towards the future and what they can do next year in next year's draft as well.
I don't strongly disagree with the opinion of you get to see what Hurts has this season. If he shows out, you have these picks, and now you can either continue do what you've been doing, hold these draft picks and see if there's any suitors, and you continue to have future draft capital, which is a reason why I'm on the side of them being one of the better front offices in the NFL, where they overachieved this past season, made the playoffs, had 3 first-round picks going into this offseason, and now are already in business with the Saints and have future draft capital for 2023. That's credit to what they're doing. But now you get to see what Jalen Hurts has. If he's that guy, you have these picks, and now you can actually put them towards building a great team, a solid core around him. Or, like Joel said, there's a strong chance where they could use this capital and move up in the draft. Because Bryce Young is one of those talents right now that everyone's going to want.
Yeah, Bryce Young, you need probably the first overall pick to get him, though.
I agree.
As we're standing now. So, depending on where that Saints and Eagles pick lands, I also agree that I think the Saints are going to be better than I have them closer to a playoff team than a top 5 team. I just think
Bottom
the
five
NFC
team.
bottom 5.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Saints also made this move just because of how weak the NFC is. They see this as an opportunity to. They're probably not going to win the division with Brady there, but they probably see it as we're going to have as good of a chance as just about anyone else who's going to come in second place in their division to go into the playoffs. And if we have a great defense, if Jameis is able to take care of the ball with these 2 first-round picks, they're probably viewing this season as we can make a playoff push, which is why they're willing to give up that 2023 first-round pick. Because they're saying that's going to be late teens, maybe the 20s. If we can make a push, I'd rather do that now, get everyone on board with Dennis Allen. Maybe Jameis could stay around for another season. Because even if they do great, they're still going to need a quarterback. But if they do great, they're not going to be able to get one at 23, or at least not one of these high prospects that we're expecting to come out in next year's class. But I like it on both sides. But I'm a little curious why you think it's against Jalen Hurts, right? Because I understand why, like the logic behind it. Like you're getting draft picks in the 2023 class, which is projected to be a better quarterback class than this season. But if you want one of those guys, you're going to have to get in the top 5 probably. If you want Stroud or Bryce Young, you might have to get in the top 3. And that's going to take a ton of picks, especially if we're expecting both the Eagles and Saints to be borderline playoff teams.
I don't think the Eagles made this move with the intention of Jalen Hurts. We're not the most confident in him, and this is why we're going to set ourselves up for next year. That's not what I was referring to. What I'm referring to is that the Eagles now have capital. We've seen this past offseason how many superstar quarterbacks ask for out. The Eagles are positioning themselves not only to land a top quarterback prospect, but have all the assets possible to trade for a superstar quarterback if they become available.
Good point.
I don't think the Eagles are the most confident in Hurts. I don't think they
think?
I don't think they think he is the franchise quarterback.
They're not looking at him like the Chargers looking at Herbert.
Of course, of course. But they gave him a vote of confidence this offseason.
They did, for sure. But I agree. Listen, I love Jalen Hurts, but if you have a chance, Russell's not getting traded. But like this past season where Russell Wilson becomes available, yeah, you move off Hurts and get Russell Wilson, and something like that could happen.
And the playoff game was bad.
Oh, it's terrible.
The playoff game was bad.
That was the worst matchup possible for them.
It was against the Bucs, but it also he missed a lot of
It was
those.
the worst case scenario because it exploited his weakness, which right now we know is his arm.
They
took away the run exactly because they're one of the best rush defenses we've ever seen in our lives. I'm giving them that credit. And now you're forcing him to try and win you the game with his arm.
You're not going to win with Jalen Hurts throwing 45 times.
And that is a worry, especially in this football league. Yeah. I'm just saying.
That's what, let me get another year of progression. Let's get him another weapon and, see what he could do. He should be, I need him to be competitive.
Is there a world where he can reach any type of stratosphere as Lamar Jackson?
No.
No way.
Not Lamar. We're talking about a top 7 quarterback.
I'm just saying in that realm.
Tyrod Taylor.
Would you be happy with that?
Tyrod's a good quarterback.
He is a good quarterback.
That's always my comparison for Jalen Hurts.
I know. And Tyrod's someone who got paid to be a franchise quarterback before, you know? So I don't hate that comp.
He made the playoffs multiple times.
Yeah, I've been on record saying that I like that.
One time with the Bills.
Yeah.
I think people look at the Eagles last year and they feel like it was like a fluke year. I mean, they're going to have an easy schedule. Again, they have a top 5 easiest. They have
play the NFC East.
Yeah. The Eagles have one of the top 5 easiest schedules in the NFL. You look at what their front four is still elite. You have Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett is back, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham. They signed Hassan Reddick. Offensive line, one of the best in the league. DeVante Smith, who projects to be a number 1. The running game is still going to be there. Darius Slay, Anthony Harrison is secondary. And they signed Kaiser White from the Chargers, who's a good linebacker. I said with picks 15 and 18, they could go edge rusher, but they could very well go with a Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd, and they can upgrade, they can bolster the linebacker unit. And I think right now I'm leaning towards the Eagles going more defense heavy.
I think Linden pairing that with Devonta would be absolutely electric. You have that one that is actually a tactician with his routes, and then you have that go up and get it type receiver.
London?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that would be perfect for not only Fields but the offense to really be. Thank you. With Hurts, that it could really be a dynamic offense.
So this could be the potential Eagles defense after draft day.
Let's hear it.
Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, Kaiser White, Nakobe Dean, Darius Slay, Derek Stingley if he drops, or Trent McDuffie, Avonte Maddox, Anthony Harris, and Marcus Epps at strong safety. I think that's a really good defense, and you couple that in with the elite offensive line they have already, an elite running game. I don't think last year was a fluke year. I think the Eagles got drastically better this offseason. They were slept on last season, and they would be my favorites, at least right now, to win the NFC East.
I respect that opinion. I'll still ride with Dallas.
Especially with Dallas losses.
No, I understand, but I still trust Dallas. But I'll say this. Let's pray for Miles Sanders' health this season. I want to see what he can do with actually a full season of being healthy.
They're gonna need to bring.
They have to. They need depth.
And they drafted what was the running back last year? He's a pass catcher, but he could run too. Kenny Gainwell.
He was solid. They gave him a lot of work.
Jordan Howard came in at times, looked good, but
they don't need Miles Sanders to be that.
No, they don't need it, but I would like to see it because he does have big play abilities. It's just a matter of opportunity and
I feel like
being
the
healthy.
Eagles. I don't know which way I'm leaning towards more. Drafting corner and linebacker or getting a George Karloff this year.
I think they need to go receiver.
Why? I definitely think they need receiver, without a doubt.
I think the thing with it is the receivers in this class are definitely great, but I think you can get a great receiver in the second round in this draft.
This was also be 3 years in a row taking a wide receiver round 1.
Jalen Reagor,
DeVante Smith. Yes, you're 100% right. I don't hate it. I don't care. I don't care.
They just missed on Reagor. What are you gonna do? But DeVante Smith looks like he's gonna be a hit.
I also don't think they're desperate to draft a receiver. They just signed Zach Pascal. No, I'm being. I know you're laughing, but I'm being serious about it. I'm being serious.
How many yards last year? 500.
He had under 400.
400. Come on. Quez Watkins is gonna get more burn than
I'm
Zach
gonna be
Pascal.
completely frank, dude. It might be like 378. Let me know if I'm right.
But Dallas Goedert, It's 384.
Close.
Under. Price is right. I'd win. A Drake London with a DeVonta Smith just allows DeVonta Smith to just do so much more on the field.
But in 2020, he had 629 yards.
Who?
Stud.
Pascal. That was with Nick Sirianni.
Damn.
And he calling plays.
Bro's nasty.
Solid wide receiver 4.
No, I'm just, bro, that's a good wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
And then you get Drake London,
But
who's a solid wide receiver 1.
I'm assuming he signed a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think a 1-year deal with Zach Pascal is going to take away receiver off the board.
I don't think the Eagles are desperate. They're like, no, we have to draft the receiver round.
They're also
one.
I mean, look at last
heavy.
season. Was there a true wide receiver option outside of DeVonta?
You had 2 great receiving options in DeVante and Goddard.
Yeah, Goddard's one of the better tight ends for sure.
I agree with that.
So Pascal just adds depth. And Nick
It's a
Sirianni.
piece.
I want the receivers on the edge.
Yeah, I know.
On the outside, excuse me. Like, is that so wrong? Especially with Hurts, who needs those weapons. You want to put him in legitimately the best situation possible, especially if you're trying to evaluate what you have at quarterback. And London does that.
But there's just holes on defense that you need to address.
Not terrible holes, though. I agree. Linebacker would be huge for them.
Well, linebacker, it's Kaiser White, and then it's T.J. Edwards, Sean Bradley, Davion Taylor. They have no depth. The defensive line is good as it is, but even though I would like them to maybe draft an edge, I don't think they draft an edge.
You think Kyle Hamilton could drop to 15?
There's a chance.
I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah.
That would be huge for the Eagles if that happens.
I agree.
Because he could play a box safety
That's
type
what I'm
role.
saying.
He's not going to be playing free safety over the top.
But also, you look at this, like Darius Slay, he's older.
He had a great season.
No, you're right. He
And
was
Maddox-
great last
Maddox
season,
was
but
season,
you
I
don't think the Eagles are looking at this like, okay, we need a corner that we know is going to be here for 4 to 5 seasons after
And they have
Slay
15,
or with
18,
Slay.
correct? 15, 18?
Yeah.
They could still get a receiver at 18. And let's say Olave's looking to project high.
Yeah.
Jameson's also projecting to go high.
I would rather take the receiver at 15 or 18 and wait on linebacker in
You
round
still
2 because
look-
I think linebacker is going to fall more than a receiver.
Treylon could still be there at 18.
He'll probably be there at 18.
London, there's a say it one more time. London, excuse me. There's a chance he's there at 18. I'm assuming he's
I think
not
he's
going
gone
to
by
be
18.
there. Garrett Wilson, I don't see him being there at 18. So you're looking at maybe Olave. You're looking at maybe Treylon Burks.
Jameson.
I think they're talking like Jameson's still going to be the first wide receiver off the board, which I am happy with. I'm more than happy with. He is the best receiver in this draft, in my opinion. However, there's a strong possibility the Eagles could hit a home run this draft easily. They have 2. They're in a great position where they could get exactly what they need, and they don't have to do anything else.
Sure.
We briefly hit on wide receivers with the Eagles, and the Patriots traded for a star wide receiver in DeVante Parker.
Get out of here.
The Patriots got DeVante Parker, a 5th-round pick, and the Dolphins got a 2023 3rd-round pick. Now, I know what you two are going to say, so I want to go first. I know you two aren't the highest on DeVante Parker.
I thought you were a DeVante Parker fan.
I was in 2019.
Facts. Yeah, and you hate him now.
I know with you, Joel, you just don't like DeVante Parker. I'm not sure what the...
I think he's a guy.
I'm not sure what the core of that is.
I think he's
because of me. It's
He's
because
a
of
guy.
me.
With
I used
Drew-
to chat about DeVante Parker.
Bro,
With
had one
Drew-
great season in fantasy.
With Drew, I know why he doesn't like DeVante Parker. It's because
It creates no
didn't-
separation.
He didn't have the most success with Tua, and he likes to blame DeVante Parker for Tua's shortcomings. That's why I know you don't like DeVante.
No, I blame him because he doesn't separate from his defender. That's why I blame him.
He cried in that Titans game too, complaining on the field.
He needs to catch the ball. That's what he needs to worry about.
He hasn't had 1,000 yards since 2019. You're right. 515 yards this past season in 2021 in 10 games, which isn't bad. You know, that's like on pace to have about 800 yards. That's not horrible. In 2019, he had a 105.8 passer rating when targeted, and that was when Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback starting there. Let's get this out of the way. Mac Jones is not Tua. He's better than Tua.
He's also not Fitzpatrick.
Mac Jones
How is he better than him?
can get the ball to DeVante
Stupid,
Parker in
stupid.
places Tua simply couldn't.
That's wrong.
But
It's as
That's-
simple as
that's-
that.
That is
Just
one of the
to
worst
argue
takes
against that-
ever.
Can I finish?
But real quick,
Can I finish?
one sentence. Mac Jones isn't going to throw the type of balls that Fitzpatrick did in his great season with DeVante Parker.
Mac Jones, lesser rip.
Not like
Tua
Fitzpatrick,
doesn't,
bro.
like-
Fitzpatrick is
That's
like the
because he's not.
gunslinger.
That's because he's not a dummy. But,
that's why
Mac
Parker
Jones,
had such a great year.
yeah, Mac Jones he can
There
let
was
it
a
rip
lot
though.
of, there's Devonta.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it up.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick's just a gunslinger. That's all he is. But Mac Jones is smart, but he knows when to take chances. It's simple as that.
But I say that about Tua, and I'm outlandish. Get out of here.
Yeah, because his rookie season, 22 touchdowns, 13 picks, better than any season Tua has had, and that was with no receiving weapons.
Last season, if Tua plays the full year, his stats are better than Mac Jones. I don't want to hear it. Thank you.
Regardless of what anybody wants to say about this move, I saw your tweet. Oh, why trade this one? You could have got Amari Cooper, whatever. You could throw shots at the Patriots. I think they were trying to get Amari. Personally, the Patriots got better with this move. Mac Jones, Damian Harris, DeVante Parker, Kendrick Bourne, who was coming off his career year, 800 yards, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. With another year under this offense, maybe we see Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith play better than what we thought they would play than last season. I think last season, more so for Jonnu Smith, was disappointing. Maybe
he didn't get any chances.
Maybe in his second year in the system, he's going to be better. The offensive line, I think, is still solid. Michael Onwenu is going to take over that guard spot now that Shaq Mason is gone. David Andrews, Trent Brown, Ted Karras is gone. You're right. Isaiah Wynn. I think they can replace. They can get a guard in the draft, so that's not the biggest issue. My biggest issue with the Patriots is that I don't know what system they're running. They're talking about Joe Judge calling offensive plays. Now it's Bill Belichick. I'm not sure what system they're going to have in place. I'm not a big fan of rookie quarterbacks jumping from system to system. But when it pertains to Mac Jones, he's one of the smartest guys out there. He's cerebral. Because of that, he can learn this thing quick, and I'll trust in Mac. You know, I'm a believer in Mac. I'm Mac Attack. That's my guy, the Mac sauce. What I worry about, though, is system. I'm not sure what it's going to be. 8 touchdowns, 7 picks in his last 6 games.
Struggled.
Yeah. You can see as the season went on, he struggled, which is usually the opposite of what happens with younger quarterbacks. Usually they struggle in the beginning, then they figure out later. Mac Jones struggled late. I still believe in Mac Jones, though. I think he can process defenses at a high level. I think he can process information at a high level. I think he could make a lot of throws on the field. I love his pocket presence. I love his moxie.
That I agree with.
But the Patriots feel like a third-place team in the AFC East. I think the Bills are over them. The Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead addition for Miami, I would boost them over the Pats. I also don't think the Patriots' defense is a strong point anymore. I think their offense is better than their defense. You don't have an elite pass rusher on the Patriots defense. The best guy is Matt Judon, who he has these high sack numbers. He's highly impactful, but the pressures aren't always there with him. Dante Hightower is now gone, I believe. I don't think they brought him back.
I'll let you know.
So the
lost
line,
J.C. Jackson.
Yeah, you lost J.C. Jackson. It just feels like a bunch of what ifs. You brought in Jabril Peppers, but I mean, how good is Jabril Peppers at this point in his career?
Whoa. Throw some respect on the Jersey native, please.
I mean, he's good, but he's not changing around a defense, and he struggles in coverage.
He does.
I think the Patriots' defense right now, which is crazy to say, is the weak point of their team. The offense is the strong point, and the offense isn't anything that you look at, and I don't think any defense is like, we have to prepare for any guy on that offense. Nobody's looking at DeVante Parker or Bourne or Henry and Jonnu Smith saying we have to shift our game plan. The running game is something to be wary about because they did have one of the better rushing teams in the NFL last season. But the Patriots just look like a team that are getting worse, and you really don't know how because who are they paying all this money to?
It's a great question. Do you want to talk about your boy DeVante Parker?
Nah, you can go ahead, man.
You made an interesting point about the Patriots because they did get better with this trade, right? I agree. And it's not giving up a third. It's more they're trading back. They gave up a third. They got a fifth in return. I believe it was for the 2022 draft, right? So it's more of a trade back. You require a fifth, but still the caliber of player in the third round compared to the fifth round, it's a pretty decent difference. You know, third round pick, you're probably still looking at a starter, where the fifth round pick, you're probably more looking at a special teams guy that you could hope one day could become a starter. So it's not like they gave up nothing. But DeVante Parker, it just doesn't move the needle for me. You know, I had the tweet out there saying, why trade a 5th round pick for Amari Cooper when you could trade a 3rd round pick for superstar DeVante Parker? DeVante Parker is, at this point in his career, he had the great season with Ryan Fitzpatrick where he showed to be one of the better 50-50 ball receivers. Fitzpatrick was letting it sling, and, you know, Parker put up a great season with him. Once Tua came in, the offense changed around. It was more RPO. It was more based on getting separation, which is something that's not Parker's strong suit, right? That's not where he's going to excel or succeed in the NFL. Mac Jones, I think it's a better fit in terms of him versus Tua, just because of based on the offense, right?
He's a better quarterback.
I do like Mac more than Tua, but that's not the reason I was going to say.
There's nothing Mac does better than Tua.
He's a better quarterback.
There's nothing he does better than him.
I think that the offense in New England is not going to be. It's not going to be RPO centric, and it's not going to be based on this. On quick passes at least. I think Mac Jones has a better. In his offense, better chance to move the ball down the field. Now, we'll see with McDaniel there how that changes with Miami. But regardless, I think it was a good move for both the Dolphins and Parker. It seemed like they kind of amicably split ways, right? Parker didn't really want to be there. I know there was rumors for a little bit, at least the last month or so, that Parker wanted to move on. So I'm glad that they were able to do it. Interesting enough, they trade in division, which is something you rarely see across the NFL. And then the Mets and Yankees made a trade the day after, which was pretty funny. But I still look at the Patriots offense, and they need a number one receiver, right? DeVante Parker, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, none of these guys are number ones. In this draft, it doesn't feel like the Patriots to take a receiver in the first round. Last time I did it was N'Keal Harry. That didn't work out really good. And this kind of feels like the end of the N'Keal Harry era for the Patriots. I think they're going to move on for him at some point or another in this offseason, with Parker coming in, kind of being that big body receiver that they expected Harry to be, who also struggled with separation in college. But people and scouts just kind of thought he'd be able to get over it. Unfortunately, hasn't happened at this point in his career. But for New England, if they take a receiver round one, then it makes a bit more sense. So now at least you have some depth there, and you have multiple guys who could do different things as well. We talk about, building a starting five of receivers, guys could go deep, contested ball guys, route runners. They're kind of building that, but they're missing that elite option. And I think one area where they could in-house improve is that tight end. They have Jonnu Smith, who they just paid $50 million for, who's a vertical threat, someone who's insanely athletic, causes mismatches across the field, and they just didn't use him last year. I think he had 200 yards. Hunter Henry was more of the red zone threat who had, I believe, 10 touchdowns. He might have led all tight ends in touchdowns last season.
Number 2, Dawson Knox.
Number 2, wow, Dawson Knox. Better than Gabe Davis.
I told you. I keep telling you about Dawson.
I have him in 2 of my dynasty
Yeah,
teams,
you're
bro.
welcome, because I keep telling you that he's elite.
You're a fan. But yeah, if they're able to, at least bring Jonnu to what they expected him and what they paid him to be, pair that with a number one receiver, however they get it, I would have liked them to be more aggressive to get Amari Cooper. I know you're going to be paying him more than DeVante Parker, but you're also getting a lot more from Amari Cooper than DeVante Parker.
Isn't DeVante Parker just what they wanted N'Keal Harry to always be?
More or less, yeah. That's why I think that's kind of the end of Harry's tenure.
I just feel like my big issue is, which I keep saying over and over again, is he lacks the ability to separate.
It's not as bad as you think, though.
No, do you think so? In terms of contested balls, he was among the league leaders in contested catches. I wonder why that is. Because anytime he has an opportunity to catch the ball, it's because he cannot separate from a defender. So if he's going to get the ball thrown to him, it's going to be in situations where the defender's on his hip and he's really going to have to make an acrobatic catch, which, credit to him, he can definitely do. But he lacks the ability to really separate from defenders. I'm 100% with you guys. Any help is good help. And you bring in DeVante Parker for a third-round pick, I don't hate it, but when you look at it from the glasses of they could have spent the 5th-round pick and gotten Amari Cooper, take on a little bit more of a contract, I would probably have done that in my opinion, especially with Mac Jones, who needs that alpha wide receiver 1 to come in and really help him out, especially early in his development. But I don't hate it. I agree with you. I want to see them still acquire an alpha wide receiver 1. We're going to talk about it, a situation later in the show where I do believe they can still acquire that. However, this offense is one of the worst weapons room outside of running back still in the league. I'm the biggest Kendrick Bourne fan you'll ever see. I'm not looking at him as a strong wide receiver 2.
Yeah, they have a lot. They have like Parker and Kendrick Bourne are both probably average wide receivers.
Solid options.
We say that, but this offense is a top 15 offense
because of Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson,
and also because
and an amazing offensive line that took some hits.
It's not amazing.
Took some hits now.
It's not amazing though.
Their rushing offensive line. I don't know if you have that off the top of your head, but their rushing offensive line was really solid.
They're projected to be a top 10 offensive line pass protection next year.
And that's going to be beneficial for Mac Jones, even though he can escape out the pocket. His pocket presence is really great regardless of that. So it's going to be beneficial for him. But it's not going to be beneficial if his wide receiver 1, DeVante Parker, is not getting separation. If his wide receiver 2, Kendrick Bourne, is really being used more as a gadget guy. We want to see him start to make throws down the field, start to really push this offense, start to show what he can really be capable of as a franchise quarterback, which is what they drafted him to be. I think they still need that alpha 1, and I don't think DeVante Parker is that answer.
I think they need a wide receiver 1 still, but I don't necessarily agree with this way of thinking that you need to have so many elite options at receiver.
You don't need so many. You need 1 at least.
I feel like as long as your offense works and it has system that works, you'll be fine. I think the Patriots still have a top 15 offense.
But their ceiling is low, extremely low.
Let's look
Their
at the
ceiling
teams.
the ceiling is low because the defense is going to take a big hit.
Can we look at the teams in the AFC and NFC championship games? Here's your alpha, Tyreek Hill. Here's your number 2 alpha, Travis Kelce. Now let's go to the Bengals. Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is arguably the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL.
The best wide receiver 3.
There you go. And now you look at the NFC. You have, Cooper Kupp, who's arguably the best receiver in the NFL. And on the other side, Deebo Samuel. You need these
With
guys
Kittle
to...
there
Of
too,
course.
Odell, who
I'm
came
just
out,
not trying to
yeah.
go too in depth. We know those guys. The alpha X factor receiver or tight end is essential if you really want to make a push.
I think Brandon Ayuk could be the best receiver on this team, and he's their number 3 on San Francisco.
As of recently, yeah, you're right. Teams that have had those receiving weapons have gone farther in the playoffs. But you look at historically, it's not always been that way.
It's a different NFL.
I mean, look at Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady was doing it for years on end of doing it with mediocre wide receiver talent. Got to a point where he couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, because it used to be like that's why the Bengals were so surprising because we never seen a team with such a bad
Well,
offensive line go to the Super
He
Bowl.
couldn't do it anymore because Gronk regressed tremendously, and the defense, he was injured, and the defense wasn't what it once was.
It's just impossible to play one-on-one defense against wide receivers.
that season, the Patriots were the number 1 defense in the NFL.
Versus the Titans.
They lost in the first round.
They lost to the Titans.
And they couldn't move the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I was high
Because
on the Titans
rightfully so. You were definitely high on them. I remember you saying Tannehill was going to have a breakout year, respect to you. But in the sense of, let's just look at the Patriots for a sec. Defense was great that season, and their offense really got carried by their defense. And you'd think that come playoff time, Brady would have been able to overcome that. But against a Titans team who was really an underdog throughout the entirety of that playoffs, the weapons weren't strong enough to overcome.
But also that year in the first 8 weeks, the Patriots' schedule was insanely easy.
It was very late.
And
Yeah, for sure.
That's what inflated their defense.
I don't disagree with that.
Versus top teams, they
But
gave up like 30
Gilmore
plus
was
points.
Defensive Player of the Year that season.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
They had the talent for sure, but it
Yeah,
kind of went
but
hand in hand.
towards the end, versus the elite teams
Ran out
that
of
year,
steam. Ran out of steam.
not even that. Versus the elite teams that year, they got smoked. I remember they got smoked versus the Ravens.
I mean, they only
on
lost.
primetime.
They only lost 4 games, correct? And that was before their bye. That was one of those that I felt like they were just cruising into their bye. They were playing the Ravens, who were extremely hot up until that point. It was one of those trap games where Patriots were just bound. No, I don't want to say bound, but they were in a position where they
So
could have
this
just
was-
cruised into it.
This was their schedule basically. I'm trying to find it. I don't know why some of this says postponed, so that's why. Maybe because of COVID. I'm not sure.
That's
So,
the year
okay.
before COVID.
Week 1, Miami. Or no, hold up. I'm on 2020.
Because I remember that season, the week 1 was Miami versus the Ravens, where Minka
Okay.
requested out of the Miami
threw 5
after.
touchdowns.
So I have
exactly.
So week 1 versus the Steelers, beat them 33-3. They beat the Dolphins 43-0. They beat the Jets 30-14. They faced the Bills. They beat them 16-10. Before Allen was an elite quarterback. They beat the Washington Commanders 33-7. They beat the Giants 35-14. They beat the Jets 32-0. They beat the Browns 27-13. When they faced the Ravens, they lost 37-20. Then they beat the Eagles 17-10.
They had their bye week.
They barely beat the Cowboys. They beat them by 4 points. I remember that was like a primetime game or like a 4:00 game. The Texans beat them 28-22. They were a playoff team that year. The Chiefs beat them 23-16. The Patriots beat the Bengals 34-13. The Bills lost 17-24. The Dolphins beat them in the final week of the season. So like
2 division games.
but like their schedule was easy. The only playoff teams
definitely.
they faced was the Bills, the Chiefs, the Texans,
and the Ravens.
And at least in the AFC, and they got smoked by all of them except the Bills.
But
And the Chiefs didn't really smoke them. It was a touchdown.
But to come back to the main point, you don't think they need to go out and get an alpha 1 because
Correct.
that changes the offense and that puts them in a chance to win multiple playoff games. Without it,
I
the
don't think
offense
it's their
is
biggest.
limited.
I think right now their defense is really bad. I mean, I think their defense is going to be a bottom 15
Belichick's gonna-
defense.
I was
I
going to
think
say,
Belichick's
as
gonna
long
make
as
it
you have
respectable,
Belichick,
bro.
you should
Look at this
recash.
defense. Dietrich Weiss.
Not much talent.
I like
agree.
Christian Barmore, so I'm not going to slander him. David Gochow, Lawrence Guy, Matt Judon, Jawan Bentley, Mac Wilson, Malcolm Butler, Adrian Phillips, Devin McCourty, Jalen Mills, Jonathan Jones, Jabril Peppers,
Secondary is still okay.
Terrence Mitchell, Kyle Duggar. I mean, Malcolm Butler is
He's old. It's
maybe he
okay.
has a
I'm not saying
resurgence
it's
with his
I'm
old
not
team.
saying it's great. It's still it's a good
This
secondary.
I think the biggest problem with the Pats right now is that their defense is not good.
They need edge.
Yeah, they need edge. I think they need a corner, which they lost with JC. They need more linebacker help. They need a lot of things. I think on offense, you look at the offense, the offense is filled out. They just need the number one guy, but they can get by without that. The defense is really what it's like. You can see teams like the Bills put up 40 on them in the playoffs. Those good offensive teams are going to score big on the Pats this upcoming season.
Teams who score more, we saw this last playoff run. If you have I'd rather have the great offense and a bad defense than the other way around. If you have a bad offense, write yourself off. You have no chance. I'd rather have that number one receiver, and you could go toe-to-toe. I mean, the Patriots aren't there yet with the Chiefs and the Bills, but at least give yourself a chance to score 24, 27 points and make it a game.
We also saw the Niners go toe-to-toe with the Rams because their defense was able to hold up.
They also had Debo, who's one of the more versatile options there is. George Kittle, regardless. Elijah Mitchell.
And in that game, they weren't able to do much because of Jimmy G's injury. He wasn't able to really throw it.
I feel like Debo still had a decent game, did he not?
He probably did.
I feel like the offense did nothing in the second half.
For New England, you're saying? Oh, in that game?
No, San Fran.
I mean, I remember, didn't Garoppolo have over 250 passing yards?
Well, you could check.
All right.
I just felt like there was several moments in the game on consecutive drives where the Niners were able to get nothing. It was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Garoppolo threw for 232, 2 touchdowns, an interception. Debo was 7 carries, 26 yards. Elijah Mitchell, 11 for 20 yards. Not good at all. Debo, 4 receptions, 72 yards, a touchdown.
Yeah.
Mitchell had 50 receiving yards. Ayuk had 69 receiving yards.
Nice.
Talking about an alpha wide receiver, there's a couple that may be available. Well, 2 specifically, DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. The Titans have said that they're going to work on getting a long-term deal with A.J. Brown, so he might not be moved. And as of recently, they're saying the Seahawks aren't taking offers for DK Metcalf, but there are some rumors surrounding him. His name, along with A.J. Brown, they have been tied in to with the Jets. I mean, what do you think about this DK Metcalf situation? Between DK and AJ, if you're a team, which guy would you rather have? And potential team fits for them. You know, Drew, I want to start with you.
No problem. If I wanted to choose of these two, it's easy for me. I'm going A.J. Brown. I want the more versatile wide receiver. And essentially, I'm not saying that A.J. is the physical freak that DK Metcalf is. He still has the explosive play that DK has, if not a little bit better, given the fact that he could take a screen and take it to the crib. He's that type of player. Not saying that DK can't, but I just think that A.J. Brown's a little bit more shifty. He's a little bit more versatile, and I love that in the wide receiver option. Now, who I think will become available, I think DK Metcalf is more likely to become available, where I look at the Seahawks as they're clearly in a rebuild, and the Titans still can win their division and still be a top seed in the AFC conference, given the fact that they're on a weak division, and they just finished as the number 1 seed, so it's more than possible. I believe that I have 3 teams that DK could go to, and they would be the best fit. I'm assuming you guys are going to say the Jets, so I'll leave that to you guys. I think the Jets makes a lot of sense. I'll keep it really quick. You want to have Zach Wilson in a position early into his development, that he has weapons that he can rely on, and he has confidence throwing to these guys that he can trust. And that's huge early in development because you want to see what this guy has. And if you're putting him in a position where he has DK Metcalf, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, I have to throw him in there, CJ Uzama. This is a weapons room that is actually respectable, and now there is no reason why Zach can't succeed. Now, number 2, I have the Saints. We spoke about it earlier. They are in desperate need of a wide receiver. They now have 2 first-round picks. Maybe you want to trade one of those later ones for a DK Metcalf. I wouldn't be too opposed. The only thing that I see as a little bit of a clash is that they're in the same conference. I don't know if they'd be willing to do that. Now, my last team is the Patriots. I said that I was seeking an option for them to get a wide receiver 1 alpha. It's pretty perfect in this sense where they have the 24th pick overall. Patriots have been prone to trading their first-round picks for as long as Belichick has been in the NFL, and now this solves that alpha problem that we just had a 25-minute discussion on. You put, similar to Zach Wilson, early into Mac Jones' development, you want him in a situation where he has guys that he can trust and have confidence in throwing the ball down the field. And we talk about wanting to see Mac Jones move the ball downfield. Right now, there's no better option than DK Metcalf.
If there's one coach in the entire NFL I can't trust, it's Pete Carroll. His coach speak, the way he talks about his players, he thinks they're all the best, all pro Hall of Fame guys. Everyone's going to stay here with me, best friends, and it never works out that way. I remember a couple years ago him talking about like Rashad Penny, and he ended up not playing at all. We saw this past season or this past offseason with Russell Wilson saying, we want him to stay. He ends up getting traded. A lot of coaches do that, but Pete Carroll in specific really goes over the top when it comes to like coach speak and talking up his players. So no one's available until they're available, right? I think DK Metcalf is the player that's more likely to be traded just because the Titans don't really have the luxury to trade A.J. Brown. I mean, you trade Brown, now you're stuck with Robert Woods as your wide receiver 1, and that offense becomes really limited. I know A.J.'s dealt with injuries over the last few years, and maybe you don't want to pay him top wide receiver money, but when he's on the field, he's one of the 10 best wide receivers in the league. So at such an important position, I'm willing to take the risk and pay him. But I think DK Metcalf is the player that becomes available. I have 4 teams, one being the Jets. I'm sure you'll talk about that as well.
I won't. So you can.
Okay, cool. They've been in on all the talks with Tyreek, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley. It's obvious that Joe Douglas wants to go get a true number 1 wide receiver for Zach Wilson, and it makes all the sense. The Jets have the draft capital to do it. They have the cap space to do it, and he's going to fit in this offense. It just becomes a matter of, will the Seahawks want to trade with the Jets? Are they willing to go? We fleeced them for Jamal Adams, getting 2 first-round picks for. Is John Schneider going to be able to say, you know what, we'll make another deal with the Jets? They're not giving up 4. They're not giving up 10. I think 36 and 38 gets it done. Maybe 36 and a future second-round pick gets it done. I don't see a world where the Jets give up any first-round pick for DK Metcalf, especially for what Tyreek Hill just went for, which was a late first and a few other picks. So I don't see I know there's rumors out there saying the Jets give up pick 10. The Jets have not offered pick 10. Connor Hughes, who's one of the best Jets beat reporters, said that's not true. And I don't think Douglas is offering pick 10 for a receiver. So I think Jets makes the most sense, just a matter of, will Schneider make a deal with Joe Douglas again? I think the Colts make a lot of sense as well. They have a ton of cap room.
Love that.
They don't have as much draft capital. Well, I guess they do now. After the Wentz trade, they have a few second and third round picks, which is probably what it's going to be to get DK Metcalf. It's a great pairing with Michael Pittman. You have 2 big body physical wide receivers on the outside. Gives Matt Ryan another weapon. I'm sure you'd love that. You get DK Metcalf, this whole team changes. The whole offense changes. You have a chance you're probably the favorite at that point to win the division over the Titans. I would put you at. Have a home playoff game round 1 and see what happens from there, because DK is just that type of player that's going to change everything for you. Sorry, what did you say?
I said they can go all the way.
Oh, I'm not going there. But they could win a playoff game, maybe even 2, with DK Metcalf there, because he's just, like A.J. Brown, when healthy, one of the 10 best receivers in the league. And I have 2 teams in the NFC. I don't think the Seahawks would be opposed to trading DK into the NFC just because they are heading towards a rebuild. They probably see themselves as being a couple years out until they're competing for a wild card spot at the very least again, especially in such a loaded division. They're probably not going to win that division for at least another 3 years or so if you look at Trey Lance and Matt Stafford and Kyler. But I think the Eagles, who we just discussed, they have the draft capital. They have a desperate need for wide receiver. If they don't want to take the shot in the dark on a draft pick like we saw them miss on Jalen Reagor, we've seen them miss on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside before, Greg Ward, they have all these guys they've drafted, and it just hasn't worked out. So
Greg
if they
Ward
want
was not a first-round pick.
I know. I'm just saying drafting, because Arcega-Whiteside was a second-round pick as well. So if they don't want to take that shot in the dark and just go and get that proven guy for Jalen Hurts, that makes a lot of sense too. And such a winnable division, winnable conference, really, like the Eagles with DK Metcalf, it's a bit different just because they're more of a run-heavy team. So I don't know if it completely opens everything up. That's going to take Jalen Hurts take that next step as a passer, which DK Metcalf would definitely, help out with. And then the last team I have is the Green Bay Packers. The Packers who traded DeVante Adams. This is a great way to get all of your fans back and everyone who was making fun of you over these last couple months for trading DeVante Adams and having your wide receiver 1 being Allen Lazard, your wide receiver 2 being Amari Rodgers. You get DK Metcalf. You probably don't have to, you probably give one of those late first round picks since you have 2 of them. I believe they have 22, which is the Raiders, and maybe around 29 or something. So maybe 29 an extra pick, round 2 or 3 gets that done, something similar from the Tyreek Hill trade. Mm-hmm. They need a receiver desperately. If you get DK Metcalf, now you're in that same position you had with DeVante Adams. Obviously not the best receiver in the league, but DK is going to open that offense. They need a receiver bad, and they were willing to pay DeVante Adams. Just DeVante said, I want to go play with Derek Carr. So we know that the Packers are more than willing to pay for him. I know they paid a couple other guys like Tunyon and Rasul Douglas, but they'll make the money work if they get DK.
Yeah, so Connor Hughes has said that there's no offers for DK Metcalf right now. Joe Douglas is prepared to strike for a star wide receiver if they become available, but nobody is sure if any of these guys are actually going to become available. I think A.J. Brown is least likely when you talk about the Titans' circumstances and where they want to be, because they want to compete ultimately. I love the Jets. I love the A.J. Brown, Elijah Moore bromance pairing. I would love that. I think he'd really fit in with Zach Wilson as well. Just Zach Wilson's a great guy, and anybody around him, he's going to make better naturally. It's just his aura. That's how good he is. He's a star. We know that. The Packers were one of my teams. And, I'm surprised by you that you didn't mention the Colts. You mentioned them, and I'm disgusted because you took my team that I was going to mention. When it pertains to DK Metcalf, the team that's out there, and also A.J. Brown, the teams that are out there, the biggest name when talking about a trade partner is the Jets. I'm wondering when the Colts are going to jump in the mix. I know A.J. Brown, that will never happen. They won't trade in division. They should be the first ones on the phone with the Seattle Seahawks to talk about DK Metcalf so they can trade with him. If the Colts land DK Metcalf, you have Matt Ryan, DK, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, an elite offensive line, an elite defense. Oh, the Colts are contenders. There's no doubt about it. Right now, you have them barely scraping the AFC South and not even winning a playoff game. They get DK. They can make that jump all the way to being one of the top teams in the AFC. I believe that. DK is a guy who he hasn't missed a game since he got into the NFL. 1,300 yards his second season, 10 touchdowns. This past year didn't have 1,000 yards, but he had 12 touchdowns.
He's right. He's like 980.
You talk about Matt Ryan not getting those touchdown numbers with his receivers. Well, DK, it just seems like that's a match made in heaven.
You think so with Julio Jones? That'd be a match made in heaven.
I think they're gonna excel.
6'6".
There is a misconception when it comes to Matt Ryan because he played with prime Julio Jones, and Julio Jones is one of the best wide receivers ever.
Ain't no misconception.
There is a misconception with Matt Ryan that his entire career he had this elite stacked receiving core. It was Julio Jones, and then the next guy was like Taylor Gabriel and Mohamed Sanu.
They had Rodney White for a couple of years. It was
Rodney White,
Julio years.
I don't need
early Julio years.
Maybe that's true. I don't know. You
no,
can
it is
fact
true.
check
it. It is. It's true.
But
trust.
Julio Jones, and then who else? You don't got a real second elite option after that for Matt Ryan. Even in his MVP year, it wasn't there.
What was the elite option for Stafford with Calvin?
I'm not talking about Stafford.
I'm just asking.
Well,
did it matter
Golden Tate's better than any second the Falcons had for sure.
Again, Roddy White, Julio Jones, Tony Gonzalez.
So Tony Gonzalez at that point in his career, is he better than Pettigrew?
He was really damn good on the really Falcons. Good. Is he better than Pettigrew? I'm gonna allow you to retract that.
Gotta edit that out.
Nah, Tony Gonzalez. Nah, let's look at Tony Gonzalez stats right here.
He was good on Atlanta.
He was solid.
He definitely had a couple good seasons.
No, I know he did, but like you're acting like he was an all-pro.
Tony Gonzalez.
No, of course.
Okay. I misspoke.
It's okay. That's okay.
What was his best year in Atlanta?
2016, the MVP year.
No, Tony Gonzalez's.
His last year he did have like 800 yards.
How many touchdowns?
Touchdowns. I'm not sure how many touchdowns he had.
I'll look right now.
I got it. I'm ready on.
But I'm looking at the receivings right now. Okay, so you're right. He
was a beast.
But for the most part, throughout Matt Ryan's tenure, he didn't have a second elite option on the team that he can throw to.
We forget that Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman was
Those
a
are
great
running backs.
Again, great weapons, great duos. Shanahan as well.
They can't light a candle to Jonathan Taylor.
No, of course not. But as a duo, that's damn good.
That's what I'm saying.
Devontae Freeman was a top 4, top 5 running back.
He just wasn't the
best.
I would
he was great.
Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines clear them.
Yes.
Yeah. Fair.
So I'm saying Matt Ryan.
Because Jonathan Taylor is arguably the best in the league.
Matt Ryan now has arguably the best offensive line he's ever had, the best running back tandem, or even Jonathan Taylor ever that he's ever played with. Michael Pittman, obviously not the best wide receiver, but you add DK, it's the best grouping of weapons Matt Ryan's ever played with. I'm telling you, he still has gas left in the tank.
I still think they're a second-tier AFC team if they get.
I
don't know if it's the best weapons he's ever had.
And let me tell you this.
Okay, go ahead.
If you think he lacks the gas, man, he's changed into an electric vehicle. He's charged up.
If they get
That's
DK,
what he is.
you're putting them in the same tier as the Chargers, the Bills.
Absolutely, yes. There's no doubt about it.
I'm not there quite, but
I don't
think
know. I don't know why the Colts aren't in on this. They should 100% be in on it. I don't care.
They haven't been aggressive. Outside of trading Matt Ryan, they had all this cap space, but they have not been aggressive.
It's because they don't think they have the draft capital to acquire DK, and I don't.
I think a
I
couple
don't even
seconds
think
gets
that's
it
true.
done.
I think I don't
couple
know.
seconds.
Yeah, you got to think, bro. Tyreek was a late first,
But he's also 28 years old. This is DK, who's what age? 24, 25.
He's looking for a
younger.
new contract as well.
But regardless, I don't think age is playing because Tyreek is still in his prime, a top 4 receiver in the NFL.
Outside,
we saw DeAndre because he's later in his career to go for a second. We don't agree with that because DeAndre Hopkins, even after that, was one of the best receivers in the NFL. But age does play a factor into draft capital. That's just the truth.
Chris Ballard is an amazing drafter. He evaluates talent well. In terms of being aggressive, he doesn't make moves. He doesn't make moves in free agency. He doesn't make moves via trade. He's not an aggressive GM.
That's their issue.
Listen, I'm with you guys.
And look, maybe I misspoke on the Matt Ryan thing.
That's
but
okay.
Definitely, if you get DK and Michael Pittman, that's with JT and the offensive line.
It's a great crew.
That's the best he's ever had, though.
That I don't know.
It is
yet.
the best.
I
He's
don't
ever
know.
Had.
I don't know.
It is the best
It's
he's
up
ever
there.
had.
Because I'm pretty sure that Roddy was with Tony Gonzalez and Julio.
He was.
Roddy was. He was with them.
Like that's
That was also
elite.
like rookie, second year. I mean, it was still great, but not prime.
That's still
Julio.
elite.
Yeah, but I'm also taking we're talking offensively. You're right, but if we're taking into account the entire team as a whole, this is the best group Matt Ryan's ever had. If they get DK,
But even last season, the offensive line was good. Wouldn't say it was elite.
The Colts, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Colts were a disappointing offensive line, I would
Wasn't
say, last
elite.
season.
They also were hurt earlier in the season where Quinn Nelson missed a good amount of time early in the season. Not a good
Fisher,
amount. Yeah.
also
Fisher as well.
my other team I'm going to mention briefly is the Chiefs.
I thought about that, too.
I know that they traded Tyreek Hill, and that's why some people may say, well, why would they trade for DK and now pay him? It's because DK fits what they want to do now. Because they got so many too high looks, it limited their offense, and I think DK, he's going to be a fantastic run blocker, something that Tyreek Hill doesn't excel at or even does at a good level.
It's too small.
So you have DK who's a big body, Juju who's very willing in the run game and blocking. Marquez Valdes-Scantling did it in Green Bay. With this offensive line, now you improve your running game. It's going to open things up for the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, we'll talk about them in a little bit because we have a segment about them. I think the Chiefs are changing their identity now. We're not going to see the same explosive Mahomes, these deep shots. We may occasionally see it from time to time, but I think this Chiefs new team is going to be better. Andy Reid has proven before in the past that he can have quarterbacks have great seasons without having an elite wide receiving option on a consistent basis. I mean, he did it with the Chiefs with Alex Smith when their best receiver was Jeremy Maclin. I remember that year with Alex Smith, I don't think they threw a touchdown to a receiver all year.
Was that the year that they blew a 20-point lead to the Colts in the playoffs?
I'm not sure. You can check it.
I'm just guessing off the top of my head. They did have Jamal Charles.
Okay.
Jamal Charles was unbelievably great.
As long as the Chiefs have Travis Kelce, I'm kind of okay with
that. I agree with.
Yeah, losing Kelce would have been bigger than losing Tyreek.
Let's not get into it too much.
We
could
know
talk about him right now.
We know that Patrick Mahomes.
You getting too excited thinking about Kelce leaving?
No, I'm getting too excited thinking about what I'm about to say about the Chiefs.
Oh.
We know Patrick Mahomes is
overrated.
Going to get inside his bag.
I don't think I know that. You
haven't seen him play?
I have seen him play. My most recent memory of Patrick Mahomes this season.
Okay. But the 4 years he's been starting.
We're actually 0-8.
4 years, yeah. It's rough.
And although Drew is excited, I want you to temper your excitement. Because right now, we're going to talk about knack bags.
Okay.
This is a Series 2 knack bag. And what's so great about this bag is it has so many different compartments. You have the main compartment here, which is like your regular book bag compartment. You have your other compartment here, which is an organizational compartment where you put all your accessories. And it also opens up into a suitcase. If you open this pocket right here and you go all around, it opens as a suitcase.
That's
and now
nuts.
You have a suitcase.
That's nuts.
You have a suitcase. You have a regular book bag. It also has a handle on the side. You can put these I don't know how you call these. Shoulder straps. You can actually take these off right here with this clip on, put it in here, and then hold it as if
like a lawyer.
A suitcase. Yeah, it's really good. And it has a computer side pocket here on the side. So you open it, and this bag is pretty big too. It's a laptop side pocket. And this is a trolley sleeve right here. If you see this sleeve right here, You put this on your carry-on bag, so you don't have to carry this around the airport, so it doesn't have to be on your back. And it also has these cooling pads that make you cool, but also protect your laptop if you have it in that laptop compartment. So overall, this is a great backpack. I've been using it for the past couple of days for school, and although I'm not packing my backpack to the max because it's mostly just my laptop, it has a bunch of features. Like this, the card that it comes with, and you have the main compartment, organization compartment, water bottle pocket, which is on this side here, computer side pocket, and a hidden suitcase department.
This thing does it all.
It is clean.
It's confusing me
It is
also.
clean.
So overall, it's a regular book bag, it's a suitcase, carries your laptop, carries a water bottle. Everything that you can possibly think can fit in a bag can fit in this bag. So if you're somebody who hikes or travels a lot and is always on the road, or you just need more space to put stuff in a backpack in, a knack bag is the perfect backpack for you. And also, if you're buying a knack bag, they sell a TSA approved lock, so you don't have to worry about getting stopped at the airport. If you add it to your cart along with a knack bag and you use promo code PICKNACK, which is PICKKNACK, it'll work and it'll give you the TSA approved lock for free as a gift when you place your order on the website. So overall, knack bag is amazing. Pull out zipper. You have more space in your bag. You can expand your backpack. Like I said, travel for hikers, or you just need more space. You're always on the road. This is the perfect backpack for you. It fits a lot of stuff. It has a lot of space. And these past couple of days using it, I've been very fond of it.
I believe you.
It's a clean look, too.
It looks clean.
It's practical.
Has
they sell
pockets
different colors
galore.
too.
Kidding me?
They sell
all
different
black
colors
is
too.
crispy as well.
Yeah. They sell like gray, blue. So there's different colors, so you can fit anything to your style.
The team needs one.
Shout out.
That's what we need.
The team does need
The
one.
team needs one.
Yeah. Drew was jealous when I got
I
the
was
backpack.
jealous. I'm like, yo, we should rock, paper, scissors for it.
So on to the next segment of the show. Did the Rams have a great or overrated offseason?
I don't know how it could be overrated. I absolutely don't know how.
Let's get into it.
Drew, you and Joel are the Rams guys on this table. And whichever one of you guys want to go first, you guys can have the entire floor.
Say no more. I thought it was fantastic, right? You get the best wide receiver option available on the free agent market in Allen Robinson. Even after losing Corbett and Whitworth, you still have a solid to borderline great offensive line. The only person I'm looking at on this offensive line is their right guard. I'll get his name right quick. His name is Bobby Evans. He could be better. Other than that, everyone else is a solid offensive lineman. And now their front seven, where you do lose Von Miller, now you have Floyd, who can focus on being a pass rusher, who just recently had 9.5 sacks this past season, and Bobby Wagner, who is the best middle linebacker in the football league. Excuse me.
He's not better than Fred Warner.
No, I'll take Bobby any day of the week.
Nope.
Over Fred Warner?
He's
I'm
not
taking
better than
Bobby.
Fred Warner.
We're talking about someone that if you need a tackle, there is 100% chance that Bobby is going to tackle him.
Well, he's tackling because he gives up a lot of catches.
And what does that matter to me when he's going to be one of the best run stuffing?
Bobby's top 5. I would take Fred Warner.
He's
just
top,
more versatile.
Top 5?
Yeah.
That's rude.
Darius Leonard's up there too.
I'm taking Bobby.
Right now,
I'm taking Warner and
Bobby
Darius
Wagner's
over
not
that.
Bobby
who he
just led
once
the league
was.
in tackles.
I know.
Leading league in tackles doesn't really mean much. Blake Martinez did it for multiple years.
I don't think it's the end all be all. Yeah.
I mean, regardless
That's
of that
an
fact.
overrated stat when it
Really?
pertains to
Interesting.
linebacker play.
No. That's very interesting, especially on converting tackles, because he doesn't miss
He
tackles.
doesn't miss tackles. No.
He actually just had his highest missed percentage tackles of his career.
Really? And how much was
Yeah,
that, if you
It
could
was
tell me?
probably something stupid low.
He missed, 2 tackles this season?
14 missed tackles.
That's a lot. I'm shocked, actually. Now, regardless of that fact, I still look at this team, and I look at the additions that they made. You lose Robert Woods in a trade to the Titans. You're probably going to lose Odell Beckham, which is going to hurt, but you know what? How you make up with it? You go and you get Allen Robinson. And now you're going to lose Von Miller, but now you have Floyd, who has that ability to transfer over into being an edge and getting to the quarterback. You add Bobby Wagner to the mix. Their front seven is still scary. You lose Von Miller, that's obviously going to hurt, but their front seven is still scary. The one concern I do have is their secondary. You lose Williams to free agency. He wasn't amazing for you, but he was a solid option for you. They tested him, and he did his job. He wasn't great. He was barely good, but he did his job. And it helps when you have the best cornerback in football on your team in Jalen Ramsey. I look at this team, and you had to extend Matthew Stafford. It was a no-brainer. He just is coming off a Super Bowl after his first year with the team. It was expected that he was going to get a contract. Some of us thought that he wouldn't do that. It was pretty shocking to me personally. However, to each their own, I understand. But I'm looking at this team, and there's such a strong chance that they could still repeat as champions.
I wouldn't say this offseason was great or overrated. I think the Rams did enough. They're obviously Super Bowl champions. They have one of the most stacked rosters in the NFL. And with all of this talent they have, I know it seems like they have unlimited money. They weren't going to be able to bring everyone back. They did lose a ton of starters. Von Miller, Robert Woods, Darius Williams, Austin Corbett, Sebastian Joseph-Day, and Johnny Hekker, their punter, who's been one of the better punters in the NFL over these last few seasons. They did replace Robert Woods / Odell with Allen Robinson, who has more in the tank than I think both of those guys, especially with Robert Woods, both of them coming off torn ACLs. Brought in Bobby Wagner, you mentioned. I still think he's one of the better linebackers in the NFL. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm still taking a few guys over him, extending Matt Stafford. All in all, it was an offseason that the Rams did enough. They made enough moves, upgraded some positions, that they're going to be able to probably still win the division, even though I think it's still going to be competitive with the 49ers there as well as the Cardinals. Even though I'm projecting right now the Rams to win the division, they did enough to be able to compete in a pretty weak NFC. If they were in the AFC, maybe it's a bit of a different conversation where I'm saying you have to go and make a couple more moves to really put yourself over the hump. But the only team the Rams really have to compete with is going to be the Bucs. With Tom Brady back, I know we're going to get into it a little bit more, but with the moves, or at least the re-signings they made, bringing in Russell Gage, they kind of are similar. The Rams just lost more, I would say, than the Buccaneers did this past offseason. But the Rams did enough to, I think, be favorites, at least in the NFC. And that's all you can ask for. They didn't have all of the money in the world to bring all of these guys back. They had to extend Stafford. They knew they were going to be losing, or they ended up losing Robert Woods once they brought in Allen Robinson. So they made enough moves to at least put themselves afloat. But I think all of the people who look at this offseason and say it was an A+ are just looking at the big names. I think they're looking at Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson being like, the Rams hit it out of the park. But when you really go and you lose 6-7 starters, which every Super Bowl team is going to lose, it's hard for me to sit here and be like they had a great offseason. I think they did more than enough to compete, but I'm not looking at this saying that this was the best offseason that any team had.
Who did you lose, if you're the Rams, that you're losing sleep over?
Von Miller hurts.
Floyd is a great replacement for that.
I know,
he's
but
not a replacement though. He was there.
He was there.
He's taking Von Miller's spot over.
Darius Williams hurts.
No, he wasn't though, because they were all three of them.
I understand,
played
but
at the
now
same
Bobby
time.
is now going to be the middle linebacker that allows Floyd to play on the line. Go ahead, though.
Wait, what do you mean?
Bobby
Be a
is
pass
going
rusher?
to exactly.
But he was a pass rusher.
Wait,
last year.
Leonard Floyd was a pass rusher
Yeah.
the
My
entire year.
I understand that, but before they got yeah.
No, Von Miller was just opposite of Floyd.
I understand. I'm
both
confused.
edge.
I'm confused. My wording's confusing me. But go ahead.
Darius Williams, starting corner. Austin Corbett, starting offensive line.
That doesn't hurt too bad.
Sebastian Joseph-Day, starting interior defensive lineman.
That hurts,
Johnny
but
Hekker,
even still,
good
you
punter.
still have the best interior defensive lineman there is in the game.
Yeah, you do. Johnny Hekker, good punter.
Anybody you put on that line next to Aaron Donald's going to have success.
Yeah,
That's
because he's going to
simple.
get one-on-one blocks or whatever.
Yes, if you are on a line with Aaron Donald, you are getting one-on-one. Correct.
Yeah. I mean, they made good replacements with Allen Robinson and with Bobby Wagner, without a doubt. I just don't look at this saying that, did they get better this offseason?
I mean, if they're exactly the same, right? Let's say that's the case.
That's what I'm saying.
They can go to the Super Bowl.
I think best case scenario, they're about to stay the same. I don't know if they made a huge upgrade because the way Odell was looking, I mean, I think Allen Robinson's probably going to do about the same. I'm not sure if he's going to be much better.
Wouldn't
if you have
you be
a healthy,
ecstatic with that?
Of course I would, but I look what Odell did, or any wide receiver too, even with Robert Woods. A healthy Robert Woods or what Odell was looking like, I don't think it's Allen Robinson's that much better. Like,
I don't
it might
disagree.
be marginal, and Bobby Wagner is obviously an upgrade at linebacker without a doubt.
For sure.
I don't have him as the best linebacker in the league, though.
Listen, when you're on the Seahawks and you don't have motivation to play at the level
This was
that
really
you did,
the first year that they weren't good.
No, for sure.
Jordan Brooks was better than him last year.
And that doesn't mean anything to me coming into this next season. Because now he's going to be on a team that he's actually going to be motivated and he's going to be playing at a high level again.
I don't know. You watch Bobby Wagner play. The same speed isn't there.
It's just, this is his first season. Even still, again, you guys aren't going to look at most tackles in the league, whatever you want to say. Now he's going to be in a situation where now he's going to be motivated every single Sunday because he's on a team
But he's
with
always
a different
motivated.
culture. Last season, there was
Also,
when
when did Russ got hurt? Like week 6, 7?
but the team was just on a downward trend.
I know, but Bobby Wagner seemed like the type of guy to check out.
I don't disagree.
You know?
Maybe the same drive wasn't there, though.
Yeah, I mean, going to the Rams isn't going to hurt his drive. Actually, he's going to go
Listen,
to a
the
Super Bowl
Seahawks weren't giving him his money. Now he's going to the team in division. Now he's going to play that team twice a year. He's just playing with a chip on his shoulder now.
In terms of PFF grading, Bobby Wagner was 15th in the league. Micah Parsons was over him. Devondre Campbell, Alexander Johnson, Fred Warner, Pete Werner on the Saints, Darius Leonard.
Listen, this is all gravy to me.
Demario
it doesn't matter
Davis.
to me.
Is Bobby Wagner gonna be better than Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah next year?
I'm telling you right now, Bobby Wagner, without a doubt, should be at minimum
They're
the
doing
top
different
5.
things. JOK is going to be able to
Is he better?
sideline cover.
Right now, he's not better than Levante
I'm just
David.
glad that this is a name that this is who you're sleeping on, Bobby Wagner. That's
Bobby Wagner's
great.
a stud, but it's also like a middle linebacker.
I understand who's arguably the most important piece of a defense.
He's not better than Levante David.
He's the
It's
leader of
probably
the defense.
in terms of making adjustments and play calling, sure. But edge and lockdown corner is probably more important than
But you
linebacker.
said the best. He's not better than Micah Parsons.
He's not.
Micah Parsons is not a middle linebacker.
Yes, he is.
He does everything. It's
Yeah.
hard to compare
And
Bobby
Dallas
Wagner
doesn't-
to
they-
But
Micah.
most of his
It's hard
snaps
to compare
came at
anyone to
linebacker.
Micah.
It was actually half and half
It was pretty
He
much
made the
50-50.
All-Pro as a linebacker.
because there was a lot of great. And
Okay.
he needed to make the
You
All
can't
Pro.
compare Bobby to Micah. They do different things.
Correct.
No, Micah does the same thing Bobby does, but he can also be an edge and be one of the best in the league at it.
Bobby's going to be an elite run defender. He's not an elite pass defender
Micah
anymore.
is both.
He is. Micah's one of
No,
the best
no,
linebackers
that's what I'm
in the
saying.
league.
Micah is better than Bobby Wagner right
I would
now.
much rather have Micah
Warner
than
is
Bobby.
better than
'Cause
him
he
right
can
now.
pass rush, correct.
Levante David is better than Bobby Wagner right now.
I don't know about that.
Levante David, you talking about the guy who in 2020 covered
Can we
Travis,
not talk about
Travis
Bobby
Kelce?
Wagner like he's a scrub?
I'm not talking about, but Levante David in
'Cause
2020
coverage-
covered
so-
every single great tight end in the playoffs and locked them down.
I understand what you're saying. So coverage is what's separating this from you.
Yes, coverage is one of the most important things right now for a linebacker in the league.
But Bobby
He
has
was not
solidified
better.
himself.
He was not better than Devontae Campbell last year,
Bobby Wagner has been a consistent All-Pro player for however many years.
who
and
has
so-
dropped off in coverage
because of
significantly.
one season.
No, it hasn't been just one season. He's dropped off in coverage for
All right,
a couple now.
give your point. Let's stop talking about Bobby Wagner, please.
Of course, the
'Cause
Rams
I
got
don't know
worse.
how you could slip on him.
And
But worse.
the
How?
Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the favorites in the NFC right now, and there's no doubt about it.
Heard that before.
Yeah, you did. And for me, in 2019 when they won, no, 2020 when they won. Last year, I was never all year. I wasn't sold on the Bucs once. You guys know
You're
that.
a liar. That was your pick to
No.
come out of the NFC, and then you switched it to the Green Bay Packers. You refused. I'll never forget.
Because I couldn't set my mind on the team. But I told you guys all year before going into the playoffs, I said I can't trust the chemistry, the continuity with the Bucs. Something seems off. This year, it feels like things are back, rejuvenated. We're going to talk about the Bucs next segment. They're my early favorites to make it out the NFC. You are downplaying the losses of the Rams so much, and I don't understand why.
Let's hear which
For
ones.
one, Von Miller is a huge loss. Darius Williams is a huge loss. Austin Corbett is a huge loss. Andrew Whitworth is a huge loss.
They still have a solid offensive line, though.
Andrew Whitworth was the best pass
was.
protecting
There's
left
awesome.
tackle in
There's
the
two
NFL,
offensive line
and now
starters.
you're counting on Joseph Noteboom, who had one good game in the playoffs, to now take control of an All-Pro left tackle. Like, the offensive line is going to drop off. Sebastian Joseph Day, you didn't just lose Von Miller. You lost Sebastian Joseph Day and Von Miller.
I have Aaron Donald.
And
It doesn't matter who I put on
and
that
you
line.
lost Okoronkwo, who was a good rotational pass rusher, who had
He
2
was solid.
sacks, 2 forced fumbles this past season. Robert Woods, Odell Beckham, gone. Maybe Odell comes back, maybe he doesn't, but both of them are gone. Allen Robinson is coming off his worst career season that he's ever had. 410 yards in 12 games. That's the worst of his career. Bobby Wagner, you're right. 170 tackles. That's a career high. But tackles is a misleading stat when evaluating linebackers because most of it happens because they give up catches. He had a 98.2 passer rating when targeted. Quarterbacks feasted on Bobby Wagner all season long. 14 missed tackles, second highest missed tackle percentage of his entire career. And the Rams were one of the more healthier teams last season. The Rams are a team that don't have depth. One of these stars go down, that's a major, major, major loss for the Rams, and you can't always count on your team to be so healthy. The Rams are one to two injuries away from, I would even say, missing the playoffs.
Oof.
So I'll tell you this. What's funny about you lose Robert Woods, you lose Odell. One thing happened. Odell came in. Robert Woods was out. Torn ACL. So
I would
they
say
never,
1 or 2 main injuries away.
They never had that luxury of having all 3 in that one
They
time.
have Stafford, Cup, Donald, bro, Jalen. They'll make the playoffs.
They're copacetic. It doesn't matter.
So you're saying if Cup goes down, for significant
No,
time.
I said Cup.
If you lose,
I said Stafford,
yeah, come
Cup,
on.
Donalds, and
That's what I'm saying.
Jalen.
I said a significant one of those guys.
Oh, well, you could say that about damn near
Any
every team.
Any
Well,
team.
the Bucs last year lost Godwin for a significant period of time. They lost also.
They didn't. He went out in week 17. Godwin went out late.
AB was hurt throughout the majority
Also,
of the season.
but he went out week 16 against Jets, 17, whatever it was.
The Bucs were injured all season long.
They were also in a terrible division.
Okay, but they were injured all season long, so that helps my point. So they were injured all season long, and they didn't finish the greatest end of the season. They kind of barely scraped into the playoffs.
Yeah, and they
like
lost
we
round
knew
two.
we knew it was comfortable because of the division, but the Rams in that division, if they have one of their main guys go down, that could be it.
Even still, though, you look at that division, the Seahawks are going to be the worst they've ever been in since the Russell Wilson got drafted there.
Okay, but
You
that's
had-
the only
Who
team
knows with San Fran with Trey Lance?
I love Trey Lance, but also, yeah, first year starting a quarterback. I mean, they just went to the NFC Championship game, and the Cardinals, who have historically, with Cliff Kingsbury, have fallen off.
but also started off hot, and they played the Rams well.
They did.
Outside of the playoff game, they
Playoff
played the
game got
Rams
smoked.
well. The Niners played the Rams well. So like these are all possibilities. I'm just saying all these losses are huge.
I wouldn't
2022,
say huge.
2022 to me, it's just for the Rams, and that's for most teams in the NFL. It depends on health. If their stars stay healthy, I think they will easily get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're not my favorites. Right now, Green Bay has a lot to prove. You look at the NFC East, you don't really fear a team there. The NFC West, Arizona, you can't trust. It's really the 49ers and the Rams. And then you look at the NFC South, it's just Tampa Bay. I will say the Vikings are a lot closer to the Rams than you think. It's not that far off. And right now, I'm picking the Vikings to win the NFC North. If they can solidify that corner position, I'm telling you, the Vikings, because of how weak the NFC is, they're not far off from being a top 3 team in the conference. They're not.
Big wait and see. Big wait and see, because I've heard expectations on Minnesota's name for a while, not just from you, and I'm not trying to take a shot at you. I'm just speaking honestly, generally.
Okay, you're right, but let's just go over it right now. In terms of a better weapons group, Vikings or Rams, who has it?
You got to rely on Adam Thielen, and that's tough because at this point he's getting old. He's
Over
gotten
Allen
hurt.
Robinson? He's definitely over Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson's going to be fine. He's going to have
That's
1,000
the
yards,
thing.
7
He's with
touchdowns.
Matthew
Okay, but
Stafford
he's
gonna
gonna
have
now.
Adam
1,000 yards,
Thielen is
7.
better than him.
I don't
They're
know
the-
about
they're the
like, yeah, it's
same-
pretty close. It's pretty
Okay,
close.
but I'm just asking.
They're the
Jettas
same.
and Cup, I would take probably Jetta's skill-wise, longevity-wise,
Again,
but
well,
even still
toss-up.
toss up.
Dalvin,
Toss up.
Jettas, Thielen.
Yes, Dalvin, you have the
Dalvin
obvious
separates,
advantage there.
yeah.
And you
Okay.
have Stafford, who I'm taking over Kirk.
Easy.
The offensive line for the Rams clears.
Agreed.
I think secondary for the Rams clears.
Correct.
Linebackers, I think, for the Eric Hendricks,
Yeah,
It's not Bobby,
I
though.
think I'd probably say Vikings a little
It's
bit
not
by
Bobby.
a little bit of an edge.
That's close.
The defensive line depth, I think Vikings have that. With Daniil Hunter, Dalvin Tomlinson, they just signed I think this guy Harrison Phillips from Buffalo, who's one of the better run defenders in football last season. So Jadarius Smith, who's an all-pro when healthy.
Za'Darius was a big get for them for sure. That definitely helps their depth. But I don't care how basic I sound when I say this. So long as I have Aaron Donald on my line, it does not matter who I put on the side of me, they're going to get to the quarterback. Because you look at what happened with Cleveland and Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, where Jadeveon Clowney is just coming off a career high in sacks. That's because Myles Garrett allows a lot of attention to go to him and not to the other guys on the line.
Yep.
It's that simple to
And
me.
Patrick Peterson is coming back to the
What do you
Vikings.
say the Rams, or who's your if the Bucs are your favorite? Who's number 2? Is it not the Rams?
It's the Rams.
Okay.
I
So
think
what,
number.
what, are we,
I
what are we
think
talking about here?
right now.
But there's a chance that
You
if
said
they
they could
lose
miss
their
it.
star, breaking
Yeah,
news,
bro.
team loses best player, they might not make the
three,
playoffs.
my top 3 in the NFC right now is early NFC right now is Bucs, Rams, Vikings. But I don't. It's not a shocker if the Vikings can go over the Rams, because let's say they do draft Derek Stingley and he plays like his freshman year at LSU, and now they have a lockdown corner. Now you have Pat Pete with Stingley. Cameron Dancer came on strong last year. Harrison Smith is still there. Jordan Hicks, Eric Hendricks,
But you have to
Zadarius
make that
Smith.
same argument for anything
Daniil
you say about the
Hunter.
Rams. Whoever they get or whoever they're expecting to step up, what if they step up and they're phenomenal? What if Allen Robinson gets back to his prime?
You want to know? There's a difference. The difference is that the Rams aren't going to have a top 15 pick in the draft.
You're right.
Like the Vikings, that's why I mentioned Derek Stingley, because they can get a blue chip prospect with that.
Okay,
pick.
what if Cam Akers comes back and he's the Cam Akers we saw in
He's not
2020?
Dalvin Cook.
What if Allen Robinson returns to prime
Daryl-
Allen Robinson's top 15 receiver?
And we can't ignore that.
He's not Adam Thielen.
Who?
Adam Thielen is better than Allen Robinson.
It's not that far, bro.
And I'm taking Kirk.
Allen Robinson had one bad year.
And that is, of all the things you've said
It's
right
the
now,
worst.
the dumbest thing you've said.
That's my captain.
He's cool, I guess. Barely.
He's like John Cena.
I
His
would
time
never.
is
Actually,
now.
I completely regret saying that. There's no way I could classify Kirk anywhere near the word cool. Maybe the coolest thing he's ever said was ooey, and you like that.
You like that. It's up there for sure.
Kirk Cousins. That's my captain.
You got to put
He's selling
respect on
the
Allen
shit.
Robinson's name. Other than last year, he's been consistent as hell with terrible quarterbacks. Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, Andy Dalton.
Adam Thielen had his best year of his career with Case Keenum.
Case Keenum had Allen Robinson never had a year with a guy like Case Keenum.
No, Case Keenum is not better than any quarterback Allen Robinson has had. Case Keenum's not better than Mitch Trubisky. I don't care how bad you think Trubisky is.
Case Keenum was phenomenal the 1 year he started in Minnesota. He was phenomenal.
Robinson's best season, at least in the past 4 years, has been 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns in 2020 with the Bears.
That was literally 2 years ago. The Bears didn't target him last season. He had his career low in
Because
targets.
they didn't want to pay him. It was that simple. They didn't want to pay him.
That was
Terrible.
why.
They should've
So
traded him.
Fields, a rookie quarterback, was like, I'm not going to throw it to you because I don't want to pay you.
Maybe.
He got no targets. It was mind-boggling. But 1,200. What did you say?
Thielen
1,200
had
yards
14
and 6?
touchdowns in 2020.
How many yards?
He had 926.
He was a touchdown machine.
Yeah, he's been a touchdown machine.
That's because, last year he played 13 games, had 726 yards. 2020 he played 15. 2019
Who do you think
he
has
played
better
10.
numbers next year, A-Rob or Thielen? Oh, well, let's throw a little friendly bet.
I'll actually bet I would lean Allen Robinson because I think
This
Metcalf
guy
is better.
Okay.
loves to do stuff
Bro
like
said,
that.
But
the
I'm
Rams
just
might miss
saying,
the playoffs,
bro,
but they're
I'm
my
just
second
saying.
seed right now.
If we're going off right now in recent history,
I told y'all.
if we're going off of recent history, then bro, either way though. If you think A-Rob is better than Thielen, okay, that's whatever. I think Dalvin,
Yes,
Thielen,
Dalvin clears.
Justin Jefferson is better than Kupp, Robinson, and Akers or whoever running back they have.
Yeah, when you throw Akers in there, yes, I
and
agree.
Irv Smith is coming back.
Irv Smith is coming back.
Yeah,
Yeah. Higbee.
yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. Put some respect on Skull Nation.
What about Chris Herndon?
Chris Herndon?
He's done?
He's probably done.
Hate to see
And
it.
that offensive line's getting better for the Vikings. Don't sleep. Don't sleep.
I like the Vikings. I think they could win the division too. The Packers, if they don't make it,
This is
they're
their
going to
best
make
chance.
moves at
This is
receiver.
their best chance.
But if they don't, I think at 22 the Packers go on receiver. They have
That's
to.
my captain, Kirk. Before we go on to our next segment, a quick word from DraftKings. 2 titles are up for grabs on the stacked UFC 273 fight card. Join the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the UFC. New customers can bet $5 on any fighter and get $100 in free bets, win or lose guaranteed. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get in on the excitement. Everyone can play for a share of millions in prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy MMA contest. Draft your lineup of fighters while staying under the salary cap and rack up points for strikes, takedowns, and more. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TBPN. Throw down $5 on UFC 273 and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code TBPN this Saturday at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the UFC. And DraftKings, I did not know this. I tweeted this on Twitter and I was shocked. As I was watching WrestleMania, I didn't know you can bet on DraftKings. You can bet the outcome of the winner of the matches, who uses a finisher first.
Facts.
And more things. And I was like, for one, at first it caught me by surprise. I'm like, why are you allowed to bet on WWE stuff? Because it is scripted. And I'm like, what is the gist here? But they found a way to incorporate betting into WWE, which is huge. It's only going to make it bigger.
No, they keep it very, at least now they're going to have to keep it very hush-hush in terms of who's going to win. And I think that is going to be, it's a good idea right now as we sit in hindsight where it allows fans to interact. And I know that gambling has become so
Normalized.
sought out for, normalized. And now you bring that to wrestling. That's very exciting also. But to speak about WrestleMania really fast, what do you think the best fight of the 2-night special was? For me personally, I'll ask you, I don't know if you watched, but Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins by far and away was the best fight. Cody Rhodes was a surprise return back to WWE. He's been gone for 6 years, comes back. He fought the perfect person for him in Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins, in my opinion, is the best wrestler not best wrestler in terms of like Roman Reigns right now is the most dominant wrestler. He's been the champion for almost 2 years. I think it's like 570 some days. But in terms of like the best stylistic or the most tactical wrestler, it's Seth Rollins. And you have Cody Rhodes, who really made that technical wrestling a thing with AEW, to come back home and to fight Seth Rollins. I thought that match was absolutely perfect.
I love the Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins match. And I think it's an amazing story for Cody Rhodes, too.
Facts, man.
When he was in WWE at first, he was under the legacy. It was Randy Orton, Ted DiBiase, and Cody Rhodes. And he was never given a real push. He changed his name to Stardust. It was kind of mostly a gimmick. He goes to AEW, becomes a superstar, now comes back, and you can kind of predict he's going to be one of the main guys on the roster now, and he's worked his way up there. I was personally entertained the most by the Pat McAfee fight.
Fair enough.
And the Austin Theory match, because Pat McAfee, to me, is a living legend. He's one of the greatest podcast hosts and radio guys I've ever seen. His energy is enthusiastic. It's infectious. He can wrestle. He commentates wrestling with Michael Cole on SmackDown, which is amazing. And I'm not even mentioning his long resume as an all-pro punter, one of the best in the NFL. Like, this is a guy who has done multiple things in his life and has succeeded at the highest level.
At everything he's done, no doubt. Yeah. And the fact that he was able to do the maneuvers that he was doing, basically backflip, somersault off the top rope.
That was crazy.
To then basically box jump to the top rope and then suplex the guy off the top. That was excellent.
His stunner too, the way he sold that was nuts.
It was amazing. The beer flying out, it was perfect.
It was great.
WrestleMania was really solid. I thought night one was a perfect night. I thought
How
it was
long have they been doing 2 nights of WrestleMania
Recently. I think it was this year and last year. And last year was great too. But night one this year, 10 out of 10. It was fantastic. The women fights were great. Bianca and the man, I'm blanking on her name right now. Oh my God. You guys not helping me out right now is killing me.
Dude, I know who you're talking about. I just don't have the name.
She's killing. I'm disrespecting her because she's a champion. Oh my goodness. You guys are going to tell me and I'm going to be sick. But regardless of that, Charlotte and Ronda was a great fight too. Charlotte should have lost, but I love Charlotte Flair. She's, in my opinion, the best women's fighter there is. Dude, I can't think of it right now. It's just on the tip of my tongue.
I'm trying to think of the name.
Just type in the man, a woman wrestler right now. That's it.
I'm typing in WWE Women's Champion.
Oh my God. No, she's not the champion anymore.
Lynch.
Becky Lynch. Thank you. I'm so mad at myself.
I knew it was Becky Lynch too. I just forgot about the name at first.
No, but that's
why is her nickname the man?
The man, because she basically made that persona of herself, but her attitude, she's like
masculine.
Not necessarily, in the sense of like she's like the woman Stone Cold, and she put that title on her like she's the man. She is like the woman wrestler. She basically put on for the whole division, even though it should be Charlotte. Becky gets that credit.
So CM Punk, as of recently on AEW, he did a promo, and he was like, the reason he's at AEW is to be AEW World Champion. And he wanted to make that clear. Because I guess as recently, like, CM Punk hasn't gotten championship opportunities.
And he's been catering to the young guys, too.
Yeah. But now, like, he just made it clear that he wants to be AEW champion.
Because that's what the fans need or want to see really bad.
It's either going to be him versus Adam Cole or Hangman Page.
Adam Cole, man. NXT legend. It's crazy he went to AEW.
A lot of people are going.
I mean,
but with the betting in WWE, I get it. You know, not the winner of the matches, but I get it in terms of who does a finisher first, because most of the time these wrestlers, like, they don't script the wrestling match. They're kind of just winging it. Like, they do spots and stuff. So you really don't know who's going to hit a finisher first.
Do you guys watch those wrestling story videos on TikTok?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Those are very entertaining.
They are. Hell yeah.
Yeah, the way they talk about like how, like, I never knew it was like just completely freestyled. Maybe not completely, but like a lot of it is just like, okay, hit me with this, suplex me, this.
I was
going
to say, they release videos of them basically saying,
I'm like, damn,
suplex or something like that, or like turn your body, something like that.
Did you guys see this thing I posted on Instagram the other day? This astrology thing. Somebody tweeted about it. They were like, do people actually believe in astrology, or is it something like pro wrestling to where when you ask them, is it real? Or when you say it's fake, they're like, oh shit, yeah, no duh.
People really believe in it.
I like WWE. I mean, I understand that.
I'm talking about like astrology.
Oh, I mean, listen, throw that in the trash.
People believe in that as hell.
No, they do.
I can't disrespect it.
There's more things that have come out about it. Like, when I was younger, in high school, it was like just your sign. Now it's like the moons and the way they align and
you're like rising.
Like, what's your sun?
A guy knowing a lot of astrology is solely to impress a woman.
Yeah, for sure.
Says a lot about Melvin
and Frank.
Yikes.
Go ahead though.
Frank loves astrology.
It's a great conversation starter. They absolutely love it.
Astrology. It's not hard to get into that though.
I just know
it's just hard to be wrong.
Basic reading.
It's just hard to be wrong.
It's different because we're both Sagittariuses, right?
Yeah.
You're the 18th, I'm the 9th.
We're pretty different
but
people.
we could not be more opposite.
Maybe it's because your suns and moons are different.
Maybe. Yeah.
You're rising, bro.
Boss.
No. All right, let's go to the Chiefs.
On to
Bucs,
not the Chiefs, the Bucs. Rob Gronkowski said that he's unsure if he's going to commit to football in 2022. But the big news that came within the Bucs last week that we didn't touch on for an extended period of time is that Todd Bowles is new coach for the Bucs. Bruce Arians retired. Bowles now takes the reins. He has a 24-40 record as a coach. And some may say that it's unfair because he was with the New York Jets in his first season. He went 10-6. But what do you think about the Bucs? Does this change your outlook on them in any way, or do you kind of feel like Todd Bowles, Bruce Arians? I kind of felt like as long as Brady's there, I'm getting the same thing.
As long as Brady's there, I'm getting the same thing. That's the assumption I'm under. And it's not like Bruce Arians isn't going to be in the building. I'm sure that he's going to still deliver some kind of message to Tom Brady if he really feels the need to. But he's going to take a back seat, and he's going to allow Todd Bowles to do his thing. You still have Byron Leftwich as your offensive coordinator. That's always great to have, and at least you have some familiar face in the office. But for Rob Gronkowski, I feel as if we could see something similar to Eric Weddle, where Eric Weddle missed basically the entire season, came back for the postseason, gave out 110% to that playoff run, and was great for them. I feel like it could be similar in the sense where Gronk is trying to get his body ready, trying to stay healthy for when it really matters, could miss half the season, maybe a little bit more, and come back when the Bucs really needed that extra push. And Rob Gronkowski showed this past season that even with Godwin, even with Mike Evans, AB when he was in the lineup, you had Fournette who had a ton of catches this past season. Gronkowski was still getting his, and he's still a force to be reckoned with when it comes into the red zone. But in the grand scheme of things for this team, I feel like Todd Bowles, it's a perfect option for them. Their defense has been fantastic under Todd Bowles, and for the majority, the defense is essentially the same. Their secondary, I still have my worries about, but I feel like there's no reason why they should not be a top 3 seed at the minimum in the NFC. Brady's still going to come back. Brady still has a lot in the tank, clearly, after leading the league in yards and touchdowns this past season. And Godwin's not going to be ready week 1, I don't think so, at least given the fact that he was hurt so late into the season with a torn ACL. I'm assuming that he's going to miss probably until week 5, I'm guessing. But I feel as if you have Russell Gage, you have Mike Evans, that's enough to keep you afloat. Leonard Fournette was a beast last season. Now that you give him the full workload, he's going to show you why he's still worth the money that you gave him. I don't even think it was that ridiculous a contract. Do you know off the top of your head?
It wasn't a lot.
So I'm looking at the Buccaneers, and at the worst, I see them as a top 3 team in the NFC. For me personally, I have them as my number 2 team.
3 years,
in the NFC.
$21 million. I mean, that's a good amount for a running back.
Agreed, but that's a firm contract, especially for what he did in the Super Bowl and what he did for them last season when he was on the field. He was excellent. One of the better dual running backs in the league last season. I feel like Todd Bowles is a perfect option, has had a great reputation up until this point in his NFL career, and they should be in good hands regardless.
I actually like this move a lot for them. I think Brady coming into Tampa Bay, him and Arians, they're not the same personality, right? Brady's no nonsense. He doesn't have a beer. He eats like vegan ice cream, right? A very strict person. While Bruce Arians, after, I think it might have been in his interview or whatever, he had some quote basically saying that I'm in the front office now. I could get out at 5 o'clock and go have a cocktail, right? Just very anti-Brady, not something that Brady really works with. While Todd Bowles, on the other hand, is much more reserved, quiet. I mean, if you remember the first year in Tampa Bay, there was multiple times where Bruce Arians called out Tom Brady in front of the media, and I'm sure that's not really something Brady was fond of. He's someone that's going to keep things to himself. He's going to keep it in-house, whatever issues that they might have. So the Arians and Brady fit was always kind of weird, but they're both professionals and they're both really elite at what they do. So they were able to work it out, especially that first year once Brady, after the bye week, had more say in the offense and things really opened up. You see the difference that had compared to the first half of the season where they struggled a bit. So I think Todd Bowles coming in and becoming the head coach and really leading this team is going to be even better for them, just because I think he'll at least relate a bit more to Brady in terms of like he's more of a no-nonsense, put your head down, let's focus on football. Not that Arians wasn't committed by any means, but just in terms of personality, it makes a lot of sense in terms of their relationship. And then for Gronk, I think he's going to pull kind of like a Brett Favre, where he's going to sit out OTAs through the draft, and then around training camp, August, he's going to come back and he'll be there week one. Him and Brady, they just go together like white on rice. You know, they've been together forever. Wherever Brady goes, Gronk goes, even though he retired for a season or two, whatever it was, in that last couple of years in New England. But I think he's going to come back. He's a pretty big part of this offense. He had 800 yards last year, one of the biggest red zone threats, literally and like physically, pairing him with Mike Evans. It's really hard to stop both of those guys in the red zone with Godwin there. Now you picked up Russell Gage, who's one of the better wide receiver threes in the NFL too. So Gronk is probably not going to resign within the next, few weeks or so. And he was actually at a charity event and he was only throwing footballs. He wasn't catching any because he said, I know if I start catching footballs, my mind's going to start racing. I'm going to want to get on the field. So he was just at the charity event throwing footballs, not being able to catch them.
That's interesting.
But it's a very weird dynamic. It's not often we see coaches, retire in April, March, right? Usually that happens at the end of the regular season. I am curious what you guys think, though. Do you think that this was something like Brady asked, maybe not asked for, but kind of, gave a little nudge, like, what if Bruce does this and we could have Bowles go in here? Not that they didn't get along, but do you guys think at all that Brady had anything to do with this?
I don't think Brady's LeBron. I think Tom Brady's a respectful guy. He doesn't control front office decisions.
Okay, let's take it easy there. I think he's a respectable guy after you saying he's not LeBron. Show some respect, damn it.
I wasn't talking about LeBron.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Tom Brady, I think, just hearing him speak, he's not that type of person that's going to demand things. I think Tom Brady is somebody who works within the team and is going to try to find a way to make things work. I know that Bruce Arians and Tom Brady's personality, like, it may seem like polar opposites, but Bruce Arians calling out Brady, I mean, that's how he is with players, and he's honest, and I think Brady respects that. I don't think it's something that he looks at like, how is this guy calling me out? I think Brady's like, he's right. That was a guy that wasn't on me. I mean, that was a bad play. I should have read it better. Tom Brady, with Russell Gage, when it pertains to Russell Gage, he called Russell Gage and recruited him to Tampa. That's the greatest quarterback of all time, recruiting, no offense to Russell Gage, somebody that 95% of football fans don't know. And he recruited him, and Russell Gage, like, how did Tom Brady get my number? He's flattered that this guy is such a humble dude. Everybody that's around Tom Brady knows how humble he is, and that's why I don't think he did that.
This is timing's weird.
I believe Bruce Arians wanted to leave the team for Todd Bowles. I think Bruce Arians understands what happens in the NFL. Minority head coaches go into shit situations, and now they get fired, like Todd Bowles with the Jets, and they sometimes never get another opportunity to coach again because that track record with that bad team is still on them. Bruce Arians, I think, did this because he thinks highly of Todd Bowles. He was his assistant he was his defense coordinator in Arizona. He came with him to Tampa. Byron Leftwich called the plays the entire time in Tampa. And he wanted to leave this team for Todd Bowles to say, I'm going to take care of you. Like, you're going to be the head coach for this team. You are going to get the credit, and I want you to be in a good position to succeed with Tom Brady and maybe even post Tom Brady, because this roster is good. In 2020, when the Bucs won a Super Bowl, Bruce Arians was phenomenal, but I think most people credited that run to Todd Bowles, his defense. You neutralized Green Bay, you neutralized New Orleans, and then you went into the Super Bowl and you neutralized Kansas City, and that was in large part to Todd Bowles blitzing and his schemes. And because of that, I think he's earned this opportunity. And I thought he should have been a head coach this past offseason, but no team picked him up. But I thought he should have been a head coach. That's why I think Bruce Arians did this. I don't think there's like any bad blood between Brady.
You don't think the timing's kind of weird, though? Like, why didn't he do that just when the season was over?
I do think, I think the reason for that is because they weren't sure if Tom Brady was going to be back. Because
Arians is a Super Bowl champion.
If Tom Brady,
end of the day,
if Tom Brady doesn't come back, how does it look like Bruce Arians? Here, Bowles, get the team now. Brady's not back. Like, you put him in a situation where you don't have a quarterback. Brady's back. Even if, let's say, they don't win a Super Bowl, if the Bucs have success this season, Bowles at least has this season to be like, no, I was good this season. He doesn't have multiple seasons of no quarterback and, not living up to expectations. So that's what I think it was more of. And Todd Bowles has already said that the Bucs are going to run the ball more. They're going to be more run heavy next season. And I think that's the best case scenario. I think the Bucs are at their best when they're running the football. Bruce Arians is a pass happy coach. And you don't need Tom Brady throwing for 5,000 yards at 45 years old.
No.
I think Brady's fine throwing for 4,000, 33 touchdowns, 6 picks, and let Leonard Fournette get 1,000 yards. And we know the Bucs have the ability to keep up with any team in terms of passing in the NFL. But they don't have to do that week to week to try to lead the league in those types of stats. I think now that the run heavy's better, and although Todd Bowles he had some clock management issues in New York, he brings a different aspect to this team. I think the special teams gets better. The special teams in New York was always good. Players always played hard for Todd Bowles. And last season, the special teams for the Bucs wasn't that good. So now Todd Bowles having full control, managing the roster, micromanaging the roster as well. The special teams, I'm expecting it's going to take a big jump, and I think the offense is going to be more run heavy, but still be a great offense nonetheless.
No, I don't disagree by any means. I think this offense, so long as you have Tom Brady at the helm, is going to be successful, but it also helps when you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin coming back whenever he does, Russell Gage getting added into this offense with Tom Brady as his quarterback. You're going to see his numbers be pretty solid. I mean, if his numbers stuck around the same as last season, I'm sure Russell Gage is looking at that like success, where he was the wide receiver one putting up. He was the wide receiver one putting up those numbers in Atlanta. If he puts up the same numbers that he does this upcoming season with the Buccaneers, you'll take that every single day. Tight end right now. Did they bring back O.J. Howard? I can't think of the top of my head.
Buffalo.
Okay. So they have Cameron Brate as their tight end right now, and that's a great option for them. He's been more than reliable in the red zone also. Brady and him have had some success. I'm looking at Leonard Fournette, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. You should make him the focal point. You gave him $21 million over 3 years. Utilize that contract. Let him be the guy that takes some weight off Brady's shoulders for when it comes to playoff time. He's healthy and he's ready to go. And
don't be surprised if they go out and get another running back or draft one, because Keyshawn Vaughn had a couple moments actually in the playoffs where he looked pretty decent, but for the most part, his career so far has been a bust. I want to say he was a 3rd round pick. And they re-signed Gio Bernard, but he's more of a pass catching back.
Yep.
So if they do want to run the ball more, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they go and get really like a solidified running back 2 to back up Fournette and take 8 carries a game.
Lenny has the ability, 8 carries, which is fine. Yeah, but I feel like Lenny has the ability to be the workhorse. He could put up over 200 touches easy.
He does, but I don't think you want your backup to be Keyshawn Vaughn.
No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that.
Especially if you want to really focus this year on the rushing attack, then
Fair
I think upgrading there, whether that's a draft or a veteran,
If you're ingrained in the football world, you know who Warren Sharp is. He's one of the leaders in analytics, and when it comes to this space, he's highly respected. I respect his work a lot, and he released the toughest strength of schedules going into 2022. The Chiefs rank number 32, which means they have the toughest schedule in the NFL. The top 5 toughest schedules this upcoming season: Raiders, Niners, Rams, Chiefs, and Jets. Easiest will be the Commanders, Bears, Eagles, Colts, and Seahawks. So, with the Chiefs having the toughest schedule in the NFL, do you think they are going to fall off?
First of all, I'm disgusted the Jets have the 5th hardest schedule. How did that happen?
Yeah, they top 5. I'm not sure where they rank, but it's top 5.
We have
Bills twice, scheduled. Dolphins twice.
I know AFC. That's why I was listening, but it's even San Fran's up there too.
You guys play our division.
That'll do it. But everyone in our division plays your division then.
I know what you mean.
All right, so the Kansas City Chiefs. I think everyone's overreacting here. I think we see Tyreek Hill get traded. Patrick Mahomes struggle at times, barely beat the Bills. They go and lose to the Bengals, who everyone had the Chiefs beating the Bengals, all 3 of us here included. No one thought that the Bengals really had a chance. Even when we had Mike Sands on, he said, there's no way, basically. More or less. There's a chance, but there's not really a chance. But I think everyone's kind of overreacting here to the Chiefs. To me, I still have the Chargers just over them. I think the Chargers taking another year, projecting them to be even better than last season, re-signing Mike Williams, bringing in J.C. Jackson, Khalil Mack, possibly getting another, or they will get a blue chip player in this draft, picking around 15, which I think Jameson Williams is the perfect fit for them. I've said that multiple times. I think that'd be perfect for them. But I think everyone's kind of overreacted to the Chiefs. I think they're going to be a second-place team. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to win multiple playoff games and be in competition for the Super Bowl. At the end of the day, you're going to have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And you touched on it a little bit before. Everyone was freaking out this past season because they thought the Chiefs got figured out. This too high look, he can't throw the ball deep. Tyreek Hill isn't utilized the same if you can't throw the ball 60 yards down the field, and everyone was freaking out over it. Now they lose Tyreek Hill and the offense is going to change. But I don't hear anyone saying how this new offense is going to be beneficial to the Chiefs. Everyone's just saying how losing Tyreek Hill is going to hurt, which it is without a doubt. But you have to think about the assets the Chiefs have now. They have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds, 6 picks in the top 100, a pair of 4th and 4 7th-round picks. They're going to be moving up and down this board the entire draft. I think they're going to get at least 2 wide receivers, and it wouldn't surprise me, we're going to get into the free agents a little bit later, if they go out and pick up another wide receiver free agent. You can't think, under any circumstance, that the Chiefs are going to go into next season with Juju as their wide receiver 1, and Mecole Hardman as their wide receiver 2. They're going to be making moves because you can't, listen, we love Josh Gordon. He can't be your wide receiver 3 playing 70% of snaps. Just at this point in his career, he's not that guy. He's not going to be able to do it.
Says you.
I think where they're picking at the end of the first round, they're going to have either a guy fall to them. There's been a lot of Treylon Burks talk saying that he's going to fall. If not, if you want to get an ex-wide receiver like George Pickens, or if you want to trade up and replace that speed, even though they did pick up MVS, which we didn't talk about, replace that speed and maybe get a Chris Olave who ran the 4.3s at the 40 or at the combine. They're going to be making moves at wide receiver, and that's what everyone's freaking out about. Will Mahomes have enough weapons? I think they will. It's a crazy tough division. Wide receiver is a huge need, and edge. Those are really the 2, which, hey, probably 2 of the most 3 important positions at football. I trust the Chiefs, their organization, their front office, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going crazy over this. I think they're going to be second place in this division, have a better chance of coming in first than fourth.
Chiefs are an interesting team going into this season. Projecting them now is pretty difficult, especially given that the draft's coming up and you understand that they have a desperate need for wide receiver. Edge definitely also. I'm looking at their secondary, and Fenton was pretty good for them last season, but I'm not looking at their secondary and thinking that they don't need to address that either, especially after losing Charvarius Ward, and Tyrann Mathieu is most likely going to be lost to free agency. I'm looking at this offense. You lose Tyreek Hill. You have MVS, Juju Smith-Schuster as your 1 and 2. Josh Gordon as number 3. I'll always show respect to that man. And Travis Kelce. So long as Travis Kelce is on the field, he's going to be elite. I can't ignore that. But this is going to be the first season where we're actually going to see whether or not Mahomes is that dominant quarterback that everyone says that he is. We saw it, and I'll explain because that's a what statement. You had Tom Brady, who didn't always have amazing wide receiver options, yet he was always top of the league in statistics, always had his team in the playoffs. You never questioned Tom Brady and his abilities. Peyton Manning, making guys like Brandon Stokely a 1,000-yard receiver, Austin Collie a relevant wide receiver, making Demaryius Thomas, who was a top 15 wide receiver, maybe to a top 3 wide receiver when Payne comes to Denver. You have guys that he turned Julius Randle into Julius Thomas to a top 5 tight end. You can tell basketball really, I've really taken a deep dive into that this season, but you see that these guys, Drew Brees, who basically made every single wide receiver he ever had outside of, I'll give Michael Thomas his credit, he was solid. He was a solid option, but you look at Jimmy Graham and he leaves the Saints and he's never the same caliber option that he was when he was on the Saints. The greats made these weapons elevate their game. If Mahomes is everything that he says he is, he elevates Juju, he elevates MVS to that level where he can actually win games and not have to worry about them being options. As long as you have Kelce, you will be fine, no doubt about it. But this is where we actually start to test whether or not Mahomes is everything we say that he is. I believe that they will probably finish third at worst, probably second in the division. I don't see them finishing fourth. That would be a little far-fetched, but I do have concerns with their defense. I think Mahomes and Andy Reid will get it together, but I'm not immediately jumping the ship of they're going to be great just because they have Patrick Mahomes. My last image of Patrick Mahomes is blowing a double-digit lead in the biggest game of the season. 4 straight of getting to the AFC Championship. That's impressive in and of itself. I can't ignore greatness in that sense. But my last image is him. This whole season really was his worst season. he had a
He started off very slow. Yeah.
He started off slow. They won some games. Defense started to come to fruition, but down the stretch, and by the stretch I mean really the AFC Championship game, this was the worst we've seen Mahomes. I'm not automatically going into next season expecting Mahomes to continue to be the top 2 quarterback in the league. I'm not doing that.
Where's he going to fall? Top 5?
Probably. But my point being is, if you are everything that everyone claims that you are, you need to make Juju what he was when he was with Big Ben those first 2 seasons.
Maybe.
You need to make MVS that deep threat option that you clearly have the arm for. We need to see it done.
That Rodgers really couldn't, though.
Well, Mahomes has the arm.
Rodgers had moments, but yeah.
No, MVS and him definitely had some bomb touchdowns. But this is Mahomes, right? This is the guy that has the cannon for an arm that should be able to hit this guy 60, 65 yards in stride. That's the Patrick Mahomes that everyone loves to talk about.
I mean, Rodgers could do that too.
60, 65?
Yeah.
You think
Aaron
65? 65?
Yeah.
Mahomes throws like 80 yards, bro.
Okay, so fine, right? That's the cannon that he has.
Rodgers is a top 5 arm as well.
Of course. Yeah. But my point being is, the way that we talk about him, we better see it this upcoming season. That's all I'm saying.
It was Patrick Mahomes' worst season, yet he had 37 touchdowns and 13 picks, and half of those picks were tipped passes that his receivers didn't catch.
Strong.
His playoff performance is so awful. 11 touchdowns, 3 picks in total. 3 touchdowns and 2 picks versus the Bengals.
He was great the first half.
First half he was electric.
That
Second
pass,
half he was garbage.
That pass was a tipped pass.
It was
it wasn't like an inaccurate pass. It was a tipped pass.
It was a horrible pass.
Unlucky.
Terrible decision. Also,
It was just unlucky.
Double coverage. What are you doing?
No bias here.
The thing
I'm not wrong about that. Bias or not.
The examples you used kind of made me sick to my stomach. Almost made me puke because all those examples are extremely flawed and they're easily disputable. The Peyton Manning, and he always had Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison retires, he still has Reggie Wayne. I mean, he always had an elite receiving option. Let's not act like he played with nobody. And Dallas Clark was also one of the better tight ends at the league at that time, too. So Peyton Manning always had those great weapons. Drew Brees. Are we just forgetting about Marquise Colston? Michael Thomas helped out Drew Brees more than Drew Brees helped out Michael Thomas later in his career. Teddy Bridgewater came in and Michael Thomas was still doing his thing. Mm-hmm. That didn't drop off.
I said Michael Thomas was
Teddy
great.
Bridgewater was 5-0 with Michael Thomas. Drew Brees, he didn't make Michael Thomas. Marquise Colston was there with Drew Brees. So was Kenny Stills. So was Willie Snead. Jimmy Graham.
We all see who these guys are.
Okay, Kenny Stills was a really good receiver in New Orleans.
Why?
Not because of Drew Brees.
Come on.
He left New Orleans and wasn't anything really.
Lance Moore. Do you remember him?
Oh, do I? Lance Moore. Wow, that's a name I was not expecting here today.
Lance Moore wasn't bad.
He was pretty damn good.
And what's the reason?
But yeah, Kenny Stills. I feel like after he left New Orleans, he was never
and let's
the same.
not chat like I said names like Demaryius Thomas.
Kenny Stills in New Orleans career high receiving was his second year, 931 yards. Then he signed to Miami. He had 726, 847, and 553. Most of that was due to like he didn't start for all that time. But I mean, he was always a average. It's like he was never number one.
No.
But that was Marquise Colston. Jimmy Graham. The problem with Jimmy Graham is that he went to Seattle and it didn't fit his style. Like he's a vertical threat. They try to make him into a run blocker and in a zone running scheme. So I just don't think it fit. And then I forgot who else you brought up.
Tom Brady.
You brought Tom Brady.
Hey, Gronk.
What can you
That's the only one that I can really like. Yeah. I'll give it to you, but he always had
Peyton
Gronk.
Manning. Come on now,
and he was also in a terrible division.
Can we pretend like Brandon Stokely is anywhere near the word good, borderline great? He had over 1,000 yards with Peyton Manning.
I think Welker. I mean, Welker played with Peyton and Brady, but before Brady in Miami, he wasn't anything.
Julian Edelman, he made into a potential Hall of Famer. Chris Hogan, who's someone who had success.
Maybe 1 year. But
success. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, for sure.
I don't even think Brandon Stokely was never played with. He never played with Peyton.
He did.
No. In Indy? No, he didn't.
He did.
The receiving core was Reggie Wayne, Pierre Garcon, and Austin Collie.
I'm telling you, he played with him.
Where? In Indy?
In Indianapolis.
What year?
I want to say there was overlap.
It's a long time ago.
Bro, I'm looking at 2010 and 2009.
All you have to look up is Brandon Stokely's
Stokely
numbers.
was on the Broncos, bro.
Let's see.
So
Indianapolis from 2003 to 2006. In 2004, he had over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Okay, so
can we please?
Okay,
like don't disrespect when it comes to the Colts.
So hold up. You mentioned that time. You said 03 to what?
03 to
2006.
2000.
Oh, so when Payne had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, you acted like fucking
as a wide
Stokely was
easy. All right, take
first
it
wide
easy. This is
receiver.
wide receiver 3, and he had over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns.
He was wide receiver 3 because you had Wayne and Marvin Harrison.
Yeah,
that
but
year.
he had great
And
weapons.
Clark.
You made it act like
he made bad receivers really great.
Stokely's not a bad receiver.
Okay. He's never, ever come near that.
Well, he had a great season. It doesn't make him a bad receiver.
Stokely's a guy. He's been a guy.
on.
his whole
He's a
career
guy. It
outside
doesn't
of
make him
that
a
1
bad
year with the
receiver.
Colts.
But the way you structured your argument, you were like, "Oh, Payne made guys like Stokely,"
yeah.
but you compared it to a situation in Mahomes where you're like, "Oh, Mahomes." Yeah, he doesn't have Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Oh, do what you can do with McCole Hardman. Like, Payne still had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne.
So let's look at that. Fine. He made Demaryius Thomas a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL.
Demaryius Thomas made Tim Tebow a playoff winning quarterback.
Let's be real. Like Eric Decker, he was the better receiver out of the 2 when Tebow was there.
Peyton Manning, when
Peyton made Demaryius a top 3 receiver.
Peyton Manning, when he went to Denver, it was
I love
fortunate.
that this is the conversation.
It was a fortunate situation because Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker were on the rise. They were ascending at that time. Then you get Wes Welker. Let's not act like the Broncos carried Payne to that Super Bowl in terms of the one they won, not the one that they
we're talking
lost.
about years later, and Payne was
but
old
I'm
at
talking
that
about
point.
the reason they won is because he got
talking
carried.
about a prime. Okay, what does that have to do with anything?
So this is
make relevant points.
I am making relevant
I'm
points.
waiting.
My point is that Payne had elite options. He had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne.
For sure.
Although, Stokely was wide receiver 3. Okay, behind Reggie Wayne and Marvin
With
Harrison, who isn't going to be
1,010 touchdowns.
Okay,
come on.
Okay.
What has McCole Hardman done recently with Mahomes?
But still,
he's never turned into anything of what they were expecting.
Bro, you're missing the point. The point is Payne had elite weapons. He had an elite. He had two elite weapons.
You're naming that one scenario, but I've named you 2 others since.
He had Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison were there for Payne's entire career. Then in 2009, when the Jets beat them, when we lost to them in the playoffs, Dallas Clark 1,000 yards, Reggie Wayne 1,000 yards. You look at Austin Collie, he was good. Pierre Garcon, Austin Collie. Hold up, Joe. Let me ask you because you're biased. Is Pierre Garcon, Dallas Clark, Austin Collie, and Reggie Wayne a bad receiving core?
I wouldn't call that bad.
It's not a bad one.
Did I ever call it bad?
No, you didn't.
You acted like Payne made all these guys.
You got a little disrespectful with Mahomes because Mahomes is going to be fine. He's going to put up the numbers. He's going to make Juju 1,000 yards, 100 receptions, 8 touchdowns. He will, bro.
He should.
He's going to be on a great offense.
Joe, let me ask you this: was I mishearing Drew, or the entire crux of your argument was, look at all these quarterbacks. They made these receivers. Let's see if Mahomes can make his receivers now.
That's essentially
That's
yes.
not
Yes.
okay. So I just told you though, Payne had elite help. Drew Brees had elite help. So it's not like they
It
made
was just
those
Brady
guys.
was really the only one who didn't have consistently help, but he had plenty of years with Gronk
Pierre
and Deion Branch and Randy and
guy,
Hernandez.
Austin Collie,
Pierre Garcon's not a
Pierre
guy.
Garcon's more than a guy.
He's
more than a guy.
He's not a guy.
Because he was going to Washington.
In Washington,
too.
did he ever put up 1,000 in Washington? Let me know if
Yeah.
he did.
He probably did.
Interesting.
With Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So
Pierre
there's all
Garcon's
these
more than a guy.
guys.
Kirk Cousins wasn't a bum though.
Compared to like a Brandon Stokely too. Pierre
Brandon
Garcon's
Stokely, correct,
more
understandable.
talented for sure.
Austin Collie, we don't have to go
I
into
know.
that.
But I don't. But
Pierre
you also
Garcon put up 1,300 yards in Washington.
Impressive as fuck.
Okay.
But also one of the biggest things is you bring up Peyton Manning, who has these Hall of Fame guys. I mean, Mahomes did that already. Tyreek Hill and Kelsey are going to be Hall of Famers, and Mahomes didn't make them, but he made them just as good as they would have been.
Tyreek Hill was really good with Alex Smith.
He was.
And Kelsey has been great.
I know, but Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne would have been good with anyone too.
I don't know about that.
They wouldn't have been great with anybody. What are you talking about?
We're talking about Peyton Manning.
But they're also
talking about Marvin Harrison
and
Reggie Wayne. We don't know because he came in with Peyton. Like Peyton Manning came in and then
because of that,
Peyton.
You can't just look at Reggie Wayne and how he runs routes and how he catches balls that he
No,
could
he
have
was
just been.
awesome.
He could have been great without
for
Payne.
sure.
Amazing.
So this is what I'm saying.
Not as great.
I had to just debunk what you just said the
You didn't
entire
really.
time. Yeah, I did pretty accurately.
Not
but now
really.
let me get into why the Chiefs aren't going to fall off. For one, they are changing their identity. They're not. Last season, Mahomes had one of the lowest average depths of targets in the NFL. They weren't throwing it deep regardless. Tyreek Hill doesn't bring anything in terms of a run blocker. Half of those picks Mahomes threw was because Tyreek Hill didn't catch the ball. I understand he's explosive. I think the Chiefs are changing their identity. They're going to be more run-oriented. They're still going to be able to pass the ball. Travis Kelce, you can lock him in for 1,000 yards this season. Juju Smith-Schuster had 1,400 yards in his second year. Can he have a revival and now put up 1,000 yards with Casey, if he stays healthy, I believe Juju can. I believe he is a good enough receiver to have an 1,000-yard season.
For sure.
And at that point, are we going to say that Mahomes made Juju, even though he had 1,400 yards in the second season?
Well, Juju
People
changed
are down on
once AB,
Juju, correct.
once AB left,
Correct.
or whatever.
Marquez Valdes-Scantling, I think, is a good vertical threat. He at least puts some pressure on the defense to, of course, nobody's Tyreek Hill, but it gives them an option like, okay, we kind of have to look out for Marquez because he can take the top off the defense. And then whether they want to draft a receiver or they want to sign one, I mean, they have a lot of options here. I think with what they have now, they can compete. But what if they get a guy like DK, who I mentioned earlier? Now we're looking at a team who DK can do more than Tyreek in terms of blocking in the run game, really excel in that area. And I think he's a bigger body than Tyreek as well. The Chiefs have an elite offensive line. The Chiefs have
It's really good.
one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The defense...
Drew, what is this shrug?
The defense, I love their linebacking core. The secondary isn't as bad as everybody thinks. There's going to be somewhat of a drop-off, but I don't think it's going to be major. As long as you have Mahomes and Reed, it will be fine. In 2013, Andy Reid went to the Chiefs. They went 11-5. They lost in the wild card 44-45 against the Colts. Their leading receiver that season was Jamal Charles with 600 yards. Their second receiver had 500 yards.
Andy Reid
has made it work before, and they had a top 10 offense in the NFL. He's made it work before, and I believe the talent the Chiefs have now is better than back then, at least offensively. Because of that, I think the Chiefs are going to be fine.
Where do you have them finishing? I won't hold you to
right
this.
now.
Way too early.
It's 2-3 for me. I think the Raiders are on the come up. I think that's like kind of what I'm stuck on. The Chargers for me are 1. So Chiefs are like 2-3.
Chargers getting overrated.
Between the Raiders and the Chiefs.
Chargers are getting overrated.
They won 9 games, just got Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson.
And they didn't make the playoffs.
And they were a game away.
Okay.
You don't think those are big upgrades? With Justin Herbert entering another year
J.C. Jackson, who the verdict's not out on.
He's pretty good.
He's good. No, for sure. You lead the league in interceptions, really good. Khalil Mack's exciting.
Yeah, and you're going to have pick 15 to get another really good player.
You got to stop acting like J.C. Jackson's not an elite player.
I don't think he's elite.
The Patriots put him on islands by himself with no safety help, and he does what he does.
There's a reason why they threw at him.
Why? Because the quarterbacks are dumb?
Maybe.
That's why?
Leading the league in interceptions is usually not a great thing.
Oh, so Xavier Howard is average.
Trayvon Diggs. How's that?
Well, that's just one guy.
I'm just naming you a guy.
Xavier Howard's led the league in interceptions in 2020. Is he just a guy? Is he average?
No,
he led the league
definitely
But he
not.
gets targeted, though, so he must be average then.
To a degree, I'm looking at J.C. Jackson. I just don't believe in him.
The Chargers were
much.
already a really good team, and they got even better. And Justin Herbert's just going to get even better, too.
For sure.
So that's why I look at the Chargers.
Oh, Herbert's amazing.
Yeah,
I
don't have
no ducking him.
So what do you think Mahomes, like, what do you think? You
Top
said all
5,
of this?
probably.
Okay.
Come
so
on,
you don't
it's
think
Mahomes.
it's anything going to be...
No, I mean,
not much of a
I'm
change.
just saying this is what he should do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm not expecting. This is what he should do.
Which he will.
Because this is how everyone speaks about him, because he's shown it already that he's great, for sure. He's in that class of elite quarterbacks, but there should be no drop-off. It doesn't matter who you have at wide receiver. If you're this great, there should be no drop-off.
I mean, but even still, like when Brady had Randy Moss compared when he didn't, there's a drop-off.
Of course.
When you're losing Tyreek Hill, there's going to be something.
You still have Kelsey. There should not be an issue there. Juju Smith-Schuster is not a bum. No. MVS is a deep threat that he should be open.
What was his numbers last year? You mentioned it.
He got hurt, though. Look at the season two seasons ago.
Mahomes.
37 touchdowns, 13 picks.
Career high in interceptions by far.
Yeah, the 13 interceptions, not a death sentence.
No.
That's
no way.
That's fine.
Especially when you're a big play guy.
When you're throwing it that much.
Of course.
But you think they're going to turn more to a run-heavy team? Because
I wouldn't say run-heavy, but I would say it's going to be more short concepts.
Okay. Because they signed Ronald Jones, who's a better rusher than Clyde, but Clyde's locked into that pass-catching role, which I think he'll do really well in. That's where coming out of college he excelled in pass-catching, and we thought at least he would develop more as a rusher in general. But I think Ronald Jones is a really good pickup for them on first and second down.
And Clyde has struggled breaking tackles, which is a shock, really, because that was
his first year. He was really good. This past
year,
he wasn't the same running back.
Weird.
So on to the next topic, Justin Fields, and we're gonna talk about whether or not he's in the worst position of any second-year quarterback in the NFL currently. That's between Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Davis Mills is now in this conversation. Do you believe he's in the worst situation of any second-year quarterback? And you have a lot to say about Justin Fields. You believe he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So I want to know what you think first, Joe. I mean, I was never high on Fields. So, I just want to know what you think.
Okay, well, I never said Hall of Famer. I think he could be a franchise guy without a doubt. Just uploaded a video on Joel's Takes earlier today if you want my whole 15-minute spiel.
Tune in.
But Justin Fields, what the Bears are doing to him is a disservice. An absolute disservice. The way that they're constructing this team is just, it's backwards. But if we just want to start with Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles, right? I like the hires. I didn't mind them. I thought for bringing in defensive coordinator, someone who's respected around the league, top 10 defenses with the Colts. I thought, this is someone who's going to come in, demand respect in the locker room. The people are going to, or the players are going to respect him, as a head coach and as a person. I thought Justin Fields would have a good mentor too. And he made a good point that I brought up when he first got hired, where Fields said, when I had Matt Nagy as my head coach, he has to deal with the offense, defense, special teams, interviews, front office, GMs, ownership. And now that he has a defensive-minded head coach, he just has to deal with the offensive coordinator. And that's all he has to do, lock in with the OC, his assistants, his quarterback coach, and then he can really figure it out from there. But when you look at what the Bears are doing with this roster, they let go of Allen Robinson, who it was both ways, right? Allen Robinson didn't want to be a Bear. For whatever reason, the Bears didn't want Allen Robinson, even though their only viable pass catcher is Darnell Mooney. They let go of James Daniels, who was literally their only good offensive lineman the entire season last year. They're projected to have the 29th best pass-blocking offensive line going into next season. So Fields isn't going to have an offensive line. Then you look at his weapons. They have Darnell Mooney, who's a really good receiver. I had him as my breakout player. He led the team in receptions, yards, and touchdowns in year 2. He was really good. Even that was with Allen Robinson, should have been competing for targets, even though he didn't get targets. But
towards the end of the season, Allen Robinson didn't even play.
Yeah, and then they brought in Byron Pringle, who's whatever. Equinemius St. Brown, whatever. These are guys that are like wide receiver 4s, and they're expected to be their wide receiver 2s and 3s. If something happens to these receivers, you're looking at this receiving core as one of the worst we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years. If Byron Pringle's already your wide receiver 2, what happens if there's an injury? I mean, I couldn't tell you who their wide receiver 4 is. He's probably going to be a special teams guy or a practice squad on most teams. And then the Bears really don't have much draft capital. They traded up last year to get Justin Fields, which I'm fine with. If you think he's your franchise quarterback, do it. They do have an extra second-round pick because of Khalil Mack. But Ryan Poles had this interesting quote. A reporter asked him basically what he thought of the receiving room. And he said, everyone's panicking. And then he goes on to say, but didn't DeVante Adams get taken in the second round? There's going to be talent there. And I understand what he's saying. Sure, there's going to be talent in the second round. But if you're banking on that second round pick to be DeVante Adams, it's probably not going to happen. There's way more busts, way more Stephen Hills, Denzel Mimses, Devin Smiths. I'm just thinking of Jets guys they've taken in the second round. Then there are DeVante Adams, right? So the fact that you think you're just going to get this plug-and-play guy, and even DeVante Adams, he came into the league. It took him a few years to really break out. His first few years, even after, he was expected to be the wide receiver 2 next to the who'd they have at the time? Probably Greg Jennings or probably Jordy, actually. It took him a few years to really step into that wide receiver 2 role, and then eventually the wide receiver 1 role a few years later down the line. But if you look at the rest of the quarterbacks he's competing with in his draft class, the Jets, without a doubt, have surrounded Zach better. We don't have to talk about it. Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, while I don't love all of their signings, they're at least attempting to build a better offense with Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, Brenton Scherf, tagging Cam Robinson. They made moves to at least make the offense better. That's with having Marvin Jones still, and Laviska Shenault, and Etienne, and James Robinson. So he has plenty of weapons, a decent old line at very worst, plus the number 1 overall pick. The only 2 you could kind of debate with are the Patriots and the Texans. The Patriots are going into next season with a projected top 10 offensive line in terms of pass protection. Their wide receivers might not be there. They're probably pretty comparable to the Bears, but they're definitely better than the Bears with DeVante Parker, Kendrick Bourne, and Nelson Aguilar. I'll take Mooney over all of those guys, but then those next 3 are better than Equinemius St. Brown and Byron Pringle. Their tight ends are better than Cole Kmet, their offensive line as well. And then the Texans are probably the only comparable to Justin Fields. They have Brandon Cooks. Cooks and Mooney are probably around the same tier of guys. I think Mooney at least has more upside. Being a younger receiver, hasn't really got into his prime yet. We know Brandon Cooks. He's a top 25 receiver. He's really good. I think Mooney has another tier he could get into. But the Texans are the only one you compare them with, but they have draft capital. They traded, for 3 first-round picks and multiple day 2 picks and day 3 picks when they got off Deshaun Watson. So they have picks 3 and 13, 5 picks in the top 80. They're going to have plenty of chances to go and hit on wide receivers, while the Bears, on the other hand, don't have as much draft capital. They don't have the ability to miss on a guy because that's going to be one of their only top picks. So Justin Fields, I think, this doesn't give him an excuse to have a terrible year. He still can show fans, NFL teams, his team, coaches, front offices that he's the guy by making the right reads, showing his athleticism, showing him be a leader in the clubhouse. So all of that stuff can still happen even with a bad surrounding cast, but the Bears are just doing everything possible to make his life hard.
Do you have something different to say?
No. And if I were ranking these situations, I think Trey Lance is in the best situation of any second-year quarterback.
I mean, that's obvious. We knew that.
I think Zach Wilson is second. I think the Jets are doing a great job.
Definitely.
Mac Jones is third.
Ooh.
Fourth is Trevor Lawrence. Brandon Linder also retired. That's huge, which nobody is talking about, but that's huge. Then fifth, it's really between Davis Mills and Justin Fields. I don't know what situation is worse. I think Texans have a bad offensive line. I think they only have one reliable receiver.
And they're talking about trading Cooks.
Yeah, exactly.
And running backs are terrible.
Although
who knows?
Davis Mills is probably in a worse situation, he played better than Justin Fields, significantly better than him last year.
For sure.
I think Justin Fields, is he in arguably the worst situation? Yes. Offensive line is bad. Receivers are bad. Tight ends are okay. Running game is okay. Is he also possibly the worst quarterback of all these guys? Yeah, he is too.
He also has the highest upside, arguably, of all these guys.
Not more than Trey Lance or Zach Wilson, so that's not arguably.
I don't know. He's 6'4". He ran a 4.4. He has a big arm. 6'3". Sorry.
Okay.
Wow, an inch.
Yeah,
Come on now.
He's 6'3" and 220.
I'll tell you what.
4.4s, bro. Like
the only thing that's
it's a game of inches.
The picks. That's true. The picks are what's really help out the Texans in this sense, but as it goes right now, this roster of the Texans is atrocious. You have Marlon Mack, who probably is going to be running back one, but even still, you have Rex Burkhead, Brandon Cooks, who potentially they could be trading Nico Collins, Chris Conley, Brevin Jordan. Like you mentioned,
I like Brevin Jordan.
Brevin Jordan isn't bad, but
Komet is better
for sure. His upside
not
for
saying much.
No, it's not. But even still, Brevin Jordan, like he's okay. Yeah. I wouldn't say he's anything past okay. I like him too, for sure, but he's okay.
Him and Colcom are the same tier tight end right now.
Laramie Tunsil has done more harm for them than good in the grand scheme of things in terms of picks they had to give up to acquire him and how well the Dolphins ended up making that trade work out for them. But Davis Mills did a lot more with less. You still had Allen Robinson last season. You still had Darnell Mooney. Montgomery missed some time last season, but he was still solid for them. Khalil Herbert, I believe he was solid for him when he stepped in, for sure.
Out, yeah.
I'm looking at the Texans, and I still think that's a worse situation. The picks definitely do help now that they traded Deshaun Watson. They'll have a little bit more capital to put pieces around Davis Mills to potentially see if he can be a starting quarterback in this league. But if we're going based off first round talent only, without a doubt, he's in the worst position right now. You hit the nail on the head with having one of the worst pass blocking offensive lines in the league, only having one true wide receiver, one option on the team. Only one true wide receiver option really that I would want to target. Cole Kmet, he's okay right now. He has good upside given the fact that he was a second round, I believe, a second round talent out of the draft. Correct. He should be developing faster up until this point. He really hasn't shown that much. However, I'm looking at Justin Fields and the intangibles. I still believe in Justin Fields. I think he still has a decent arm. He can do a lot with his feet in terms of extending plays where this offensive line, being as bad as it is, isn't detrimental to his game. But it wouldn't be as detrimental if they put someone other than Byron Pringle at the wide receiver 2 position.
That'd be nice.
I think Davis Mills is in a worse position, but you can definitely argue that Fields is right there with him.
The reason I say no to that is because we know the first couple of guys, but let me just briefly go through it. Mac Jones, whatever you want to say about the Patriots, he has Bill Belichick. He has Bill Belichick. He has a good running game. He has a good offensive line. Receivers aren't as abysmal as Chicago. Trey Lance, Kyle Shanahan, offense is there. Zach Wilson, Mike LaFleur came on strong, better offensive line, working on the receivers. They got tight end options for him. You look at now Trevor Lawrence. They made free agent signings. Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning head coach, who was a big reason why, along with Frank Reich, why Carson Wentz had an MVP level year in 2017. Davis Mills, Pep Hamilton. Like, although he the weapons and the help isn't there, Pep Hamilton is somebody I trust who has groomed quarterbacks, who has made them really develop. You know, Justin Herbert, Andrew Luck are just some notable names.
What round was Davis Mills? Third round?
Yeah,
third round.
For him to be,
might have been the first pick.
For him to have performed as well as he had, yes, I'd credit Pep Hamilton, but a lot of credit has to go to Davis Mills for ultimately performing at that level.
Yeah. I mean, he was a 5-star out of high school.
That's great.
Yeah.
Ended up being a third-round pick, though. I mean, with 5 quarterbacks, 6 quarterbacks taken ahead of him.
And Justin Fields, not only is the help not there, but you have a defensive-minded head coach. And I think that's the worst thing about it, is that your coach is not somebody who you can really count on to help you. Because of the Pep Hamilton thing, I'd probably boost Mills over Fields, but yeah, Fields is in a worse situation. And it's unfortunate because I thought out of college, Fields had the most to work on in terms of where he was as a quarterback. I don't think he was on Wilson, Mack, Trevor Lawrence's, or Trey Lance's level out of college. I had him as my fifth.
You got to show him some
as my
respect.
fifth ranked quarterback. My quarterbacks here was Zach 1, Trevor 2, Lance 3, 4. No, it was Zach, Trevor, Mack, Lance 4, Fields 5.
I thought you had Trevor 1.
I did, but then I switched it like a week later. I was like, no, like Zach's my guy. So Fields was always 5 for me, and I think he had the most to work on it. But he's in the worst situation. So
By far.
who knows
I mean,
what's
free
going to
my guy,
happen?
man.
Mills probably, but
Free my
out of
guy.
first round quarterbacks. For
They
sure.
have to hit on the
But
draft.
still,
For
like
him.
Fields, do you agree? Like he can still show that he could be a franchise guy,
Definitely.
even with
Look,
the bad
the
weapons.
game against Pittsburgh. I
Yeah,
mean,
like he showed
out.
flashes in his first year with a pretty bad supporting cast, even though at least he had Allen Robinson at the time. But Matt Nagy, like the whole like game plan, the way they were using him was weird. He got injured, he wasn't starting, came in and out. It was just a weird rookie season overall. I'm still high on Justin Fields, so I still think he could be the franchise.
I don't want flashes. I want lightning.
I mean, that's Zach showed you flashes.
He showed me lightning towards the end of the year.
Yeah,
Zach.
I mean,
And
yeah,
the Titans game was, there's nothing Fields did that year that can top what Zach did in
he
that
was
Titans
great
game.
in the Steelers game.
He was great.
He was great
Not
in the Steelers game.
Titans Zach Wilson level.
It's not that far off. Zach's was better, but it's not.
And
that
also,
far off.
Fields is the better runner, but Zach had the best run out of any freaking
Oh
quarterback.
yeah, for sure. I mean, that was arguably the best run of the season.
Yeah.
Probably was the best
'Cause
run
it
of the
was
season.
Zach.
Yeah,
Zach attack, baby.
sneaky athletic.
That's
Am
what
I
it
right?
is. Sneaky athletic. You know, when I said that Zach was sneaky athletic out of college, people thought that I just said it because
He's white.
He's white, and I'm like, no, like he's actually a pretty good athlete.
That's what everyone says about every
Yeah.
white player ever. Sneaky
Yeah.
athletic.
Yeah,
Just
Sneaky
he's quick.
athletic.
He's quicker than fast.
He's
what I'm
quicker
saying?
than fast.
It's all stuff like that.
He doesn't have the most speed, but he's agile. And he's a
He'll surprise you with the speed.
He's a tactician, cerebral. He's a tactician. He's a mastermind of route running.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, also, before we go on to our last topic, I wanted to actually pull up this stat. When Patrick Mahomes threw his 11th interception of the season, Next Gen Stats came out with this. Mahomes throws his 6th interception this season that had above a 75% chance of being completed, more than twice as many as any other quarterback. Mahomes had thrown just 2 interceptions on such passes in his first 3 seasons as a starter combined. So his interceptions were unlucky. It was receivers dropping.
There was
stuff.
definitely some unlucky ones. Not going to say there weren't.
But I will say this: for the first
Happens with
couple,
everyone.
couple of seasons of Mahomes' career, his interception numbers weren't as high as they
They
should have been.
Yes,
Because there were dropped ones.
Yeah.
And this year it was like the opposite. Like
They returned
they were
to the mean.
higher. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, 13 is about that's probably around league average, I would say.
Yeah.
So especially the amount of times he's throwing down the field and just in general making highlight plays, splash plays that a lot of other quarterbacks, they're not trying those throws. 13 is more than fine for him.
So on to the last topic. We're going to briefly mention some of the best remaining free agents and where they could possibly go. So some of the guys I have on this list are Tyrann Mathieu, Odell Beckham, Stephon Gilmore, Dwayne Brown, Jadeveon Clowney, Calais Campbell, Jarvis Landry, Akeem Hicks, and Julio Jones. If you guys have somebody different, you guys can step up to the plate. But if you don't,
Did you say J.C. Treader?
I did not actually.
J.C. Treader would be huge.
So you guys can mention some of your best landing spots for some of these players and let me know what you guys think about
Wanna
mine.
kick things
as
off?
well.
I'll tell you what, Stephon Gilmore to Denver on a vet minimum.
I actually. Oh no, I didn't. Didn't have you guys. Denver.
No, not Denver.
I have the Bills and Chiefs for Stephon.
I have someone else for the. Okay, how are we doing this? Is he just going to say Gilmore? We're going to give our picks.
No,
I mean, if he's going to say the player, I'll just give my pick.
Okay,
I'm fine with
sorry.
that.
Go ahead.
J.C. Treader to either Indianapolis or to Miami. I feel like that makes a lot of sense, regardless of how you want to shake it. J.C. Treader was one of the better centers in the league last season. You put him on either of these two teams that could bolster up their offensive line, especially Miami. You want to go all in on trying to protect this guy. I think that would be an ideal situation for him. Julio Jones to the Colts makes a lot of sense. They have Cap. Matt Ryan and him obviously have a connection that goes years and years. And Julio has something to prove, and especially for a Colts team that is going to be playing hungry this season, it's the perfect fit for him. And lastly, I do have Odell Beckham Jr. going to the Packers. It makes a lot of sense. They need wide receiver depth. Odell would be going to a situation where he can continue to win. I don't know if he would like to go to Green Bay. It doesn't seem like the type of environment that he would necessarily thrive in. However, he has opened the possibility to going back to Cleveland, which would be the hugest slap in the face to Baker Mayfield and one that I would love to see.
So is Jarvis Landry, too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's
Back to Cleveland?
Yeah, he's open to going.
I only had one spot for Odell. He feels LA to me, man. He feels like a Ram. He feels like LA. You know, that's the one
Chargers,
spot
I
see. That would be cool too, but I feel like if he's going to
the
stay in
Chargers
LA,
are the
he's going to
better
stay with
Rams.
the Rams.
The Chargers are the better LA team.
Okay. A few other guys. Julio, you mentioned. I had the Colts and Bears. Tyrann Mathieu. I think the Saints make a lot of sense. He was spotted there yesterday having an interview of some kind. His hometown team. He had an interesting quote, though. He said he was talking about like his relationship with like Cam Jordan, just the players on that team in general. And he said, I don't think they really need me, but it'd be great to come back home and help the team. So
Malcolm Jenkins retired too.
True. So a weird kind of quote saying like they don't need me. Like I'm sure they'd like you. I think the Broncos make a lot of sense for Tyrann Mathieu as well, though. You have the cap space. We don't know what's happening to Kareem Jackson. Mathieu can play safety or slot. You lost Callahan, so he has the versatility to be able to play both positions and really cover needs at both of them. Jarvis Landry. I had the Browns possibly going back. He has mentioned that they need a slot. New England just desperately needs more talent at the wide receiver position. He could go and play slot there. And lastly, Dallas Cowboys. You know, they lost Cedric Wilson. Michael Gallup's going to be banged up to start the season. So opposite of CD, they brought in James Washington. But other than that, they don't have much there. So I think Jarvis on a one-year deal there makes sense. Stephon Gilmore, Baltimore dealt with injuries a ton to their secondary room. He would help out a lot. As well as Kansas City. They lost Shadarius Ward. They need another corner. That makes sense. J.C. Treader you mentioned on. I had the Ravens and Raiders here. And then lastly, Jadeveon Clowney. He makes the most sense to me going back to Cleveland. Just had a career year opposite of Myles Garrett. Makes a lot of sense. He had success there. Why not go back? But also Kansas City makes sense too. A team that has the cap space. He could play for a contender. He can be able to pay him, and he knows he's going to play.
So for me, Tyrann Mathieu, I have a lot of teams that I think can fit him. The Raiders are one of them. I think they can use the safety help. The Bucs are another one. Reuniting with Todd Bowles. They just lost Jordan Whitehead. He would bolster their team. He would be a great leader to that locker room as well. The Vikings also. I think the Vikings, Harrison Smith with the Tyrann Mathieu, that duo, one of the best safety duos in the NFL. And then the Saints, just based off that visit, I don't think the Broncos are that great of a fit, personally.
But he could play safety. He could play slot for them.
Yeah, I just think it's the culture. I think there's just so many other options out there.
Why go to a team that would help Andrew's squad?
Odell Beckham, Packers. Simple as that. Stephon Gilmore, Bills, Chiefs. The Colts, I actually didn't have J.C. Treader. I didn't have J.C. Treader here at all, but they have Ryan Kelly, and he's a good center. He's not Treader, but I think they need a left tackle, and the best one on the market right now is Dwayne Brown. I think Dwayne Brown to the Colts makes a lot of sense. He's better than Eric Fisher at this point in his career, and he can bring some stability to that offensive line on the left side. Jadeveon Clowney, have the Ravens as a spot. I think the Ravens need help, edge help desperately. Also, the Patriots. I think the Patriots need to bolster up their edge unit, and Jadeveon Clowney does that. Calais Campbell, either going back to the Ravens or going to Arizona with the Cardinals, I think makes sense. Jarvis Landry for me is the Browns or the Saints. I think the Saints make a lot of sense. He's from LSU. He's from Louisiana. Goes to the Saints. What if the Saints now have Jameis Winston, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave, and a Trey McBride to get in the second round?
Oh, you can be
now we're talking about Jameis MVP season.
Super Bowl. Let's do
That's what we're talking about with Jameis Winston.
Okay.
Akeem Hicks, the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals need to address the interior of the offensive line. I think J.J. Watt played that position for a while last season, but you can't count on him to stay healthy, and even then, he's an edge presence. That's what he's been the most of his career.
Definitely.
You lose Chandler Jones. You need help on that defensive line.
Marcus Golden was great for them last season.
Yeah, but he's more of a guy, he's like a cleanup guy, Like Marcus Golden is somebody who has these great sack numbers, but he's not a great player.
I need to see Isaiah Simmons step up. He's not interior defensive line. I
don't disagree with that at all.
First round pick, someone that's been disappointing who we had high hopes for.
Supposed to be a hybrid too. Really never.
And for me, Julio Jones. I mean, I think the Colts make a lot of sense because of the Matt Ryan, but also the Cardinals. I mean, Arizona has shown that they are more than willing to bring in aging receivers and help them revive their career. They did it with AJ Green. Julio Jones could be next up. Maybe Jarvis Landry, one of those guys too.
I'm excited to see Rondale Moore, though, if he could be the number 2 there.
He's 5'6", bro.
He's small, but he's electric.
He is electric.
And Cliff showed last year that he's going to draw plays to get him the ball. Now Christian Kirk leaves, AJ Green leaves. He has a chance to be the wide receiver 2 there. I think they're bringing someone else, but I'm interested to see. I was high on him coming out of college. He's small, but he was really damn good.
I can't be high on the player just at the receiver.
You're so heightist.
I know it's ironic.
Stop it.
Come on, bro. A 5'6" receiver.
You never see it. But maybe he could be the first.
It's just because he was a gadget guy.
He's like 5'10".
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's nuts, actually. Really?
I'm almost positive he's 5'10".
Like, Rondale Moore doesn't have the strength to keep up with corners when they jam him at the line. His route running isn't the most exceptional. It's just he's more of a...
He's a gadget guy.
If he converted,
his route running isn't exceptional, I agree.
If he converted to running back and became Darren Sproles, I'd be an advocate.
But he lined up in the backfield a ton.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's where he fits the most.
That's why Cliff's going to get him the ball in space. He's not going to be an X, obviously. But what are you going to do?
Yo, I actually got a DM on Twitter from the guy I reached out to.
Nice.
Oh,
yes.
the Spurs guy?
Let's go.
Yep. Yeah.
No, not the Spurs guy.
No, YouTube. For the guests on the podcast. We might
keep
have
it hush-hush. Keep it hush-hush. Keep it
If you would have made it this far in the episode, just know we got a guest coming up, possibly. That's going to be huge.
That's lit.
We can't wait. So, thank you guys for listening to episode 169 of the Pick a Side podcast. We're getting closer and closer to episode 200. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast, on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod. Don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, and you can always buy some merch on pickasidepodcast.com. It helps us out a lot, and we also have some pretty good hoodies in different colors: black, sand, pink, green, purple, red.
Oh, we get
a
fly.
lot of stuff.
We get fly.
We got it all.
100%.
Thank you guys for listening and or watching, and we'll see you next time.